Hello, friends. Welcome back to the long-awaited part 2 of my episode with John Schalcosky, a.k.a. Odd Pittsburgh. So, you already know. So this is a continuation of last week's episode, which was my longest episode to date. 4 hours, 3 and some change, but who's counting? But me and John sat down for absolutely the wildest conversation that I've ever had on this podcast. We have touched on, giants found in McKees Rocks, Pittsburgh being the birthplace of professional hockey, just really things that kind of alter history. You know what I mean? He's just throwing these things out all nonchalant. Yeah, we just altered history. Don't even get me started on Gustav Whitehead, Wright brothers. Who are they? But a wild episode. And I have to say that for the last week, I've been getting blown up. I know John has been getting blown up on Instagram and everything. You guys definitely were into the episode. I have to say that this is the most feedback I've ever gotten from an episode, hands down. People are obsessed with these wild and weird, interesting facts about our city. And you're preaching to the choir. I'm the guy sitting across from him listening to all this stuff, just in awe. If I had a video podcast, it would just be me with my mouth open the whole time. And just like a very wild conversation. I've listened to this, probably 2.5 times. I listened to it whenever I was editing it. I listened to it the day that it came out, and I listened to it again a little bit, with my wife and whatever. And it's just so it's just a weird conversation, and it goes in all different directions. And this second part just absolutely completely catapults you into it. So if you don't remember, last week, whenever I ended part 1, I ended it on a cliffhanger, some X-Files type of stuff, put on your tinfoil hats. We're talking about aliens. We're talking about Bigfoot. We're talking about the Mothman, the whole works. And then we just dive into ultimately one of the wildest, for me, this whole 4-hour conversation definitely is all wild to hear about, but I don't know why, but this stuff that he tells me about Mount Pleasant is just very eerie. It's very weird to me. It's very peculiar. I have family up there, so it's I don't know. I want to look into it a little bit more because it all kind of, it all is kind of a little bit fishy to a certain degree. And realistically, I'm all here for it. So what I want you guys to do, I know you've been loving the episodes. I want you to share these episodes with, just if you could, just share it on your story, share it to someone who you think would enjoy hearing about all these weird things that we're learning about in this episode with John and me. I just want to spread this out to keep going further. And honestly, I've been getting so much feedback that I really would love to make these episodes with John a more consistent thing, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever I could get him in here for, I'm willing, 100%. Do me a favor, slide into our DMs. Let me know that you want to hear more of these episodes. Let me hear that, hit up John and tell him you want to hear more of these types of episodes because, I'm 100% down to do this. And I understand that the podcast is, I created this to highlight dope people doing dope stuff in the city. And I'm kind of killing 2 birds with one stone. And John is just a ridiculous wealth of just odd and just insurmountable knowledge that I feel it's just an endless pool that we could go into. And immediately after I was done talking to him, I'm all right, so we definitely need a Halloween one, 100%. Got to be all the creepy shit that's going on in Pittsburgh for Halloween. We need, one about, the history of Thanksgiving in Pittsburgh, and we need one about the Christmas in Pittsburgh. And, there's endless possibilities with this. Let us know that you want to hear it. Let us know that it's worth doing. I'm willing to commit my time. John does all this stuff for free. He's an animal. He's just researching all this stuff. And, he's still talking about how he has a full-time job. And it's just like, it's kind of mind blowing to me, but that speaks to who he is and the talent, not even like the talent, but the ability that he is capable of, where he could like retain this knowledge. It's like, Jesus, I can't retain nothing, but you know, he's pulling out these names and these dates and like just very credible, you know, facts. And he's disproven history. You know what I mean? That's really what it comes down to. He's a Yinzer, disproven history. What more do you want in the world? And I want to be the guy helping in any way that I can. Think of him as Indiana Jones. I'm like Data. You know what I mean? I want him to lead me into this world of National Treasure and Nicolas Cage, because like, brother, I'm telling you, I'm ready. You know, I'll buy a metal detector right now. I'll get an exploring hat. I'll start reading maps. You know, I just feel like I need some guidance in that way, and I could give him some guidance in this way. And we could come together and we can make some fire. And I'm telling you that right now. And I know it because, I'll tell you, I'm curious. And it's like that Leonardo DiCaprio clip in Django Unchained where he goes, you had my attention, but now you got my curiosity, or however that is. But you know what I'm trying to say. But I'll quit talking your ear off. Buckle up for this one because it's a wild ride. Without further ado, episode 213, part 2 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Odd Pittsburgh, a.k.a. John Schalcosky. Enjoy it.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. That is insane.
That's just one of the things. So anyways, go back.
No, that's all right, but I'm going to lead it right into this. Okay, so like one of these things said, has there ever been any sort of UFO or alien type legitimate sightings in the city?
Absolutely. So first thing I did when I got involved in looking up weird things on purpose, you know, that's of course UFOs are number one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same with Bigfoot and all that type of stuff. Now, you know, again, you can also say, you know, there is no photograph. I mean, there might be even photos of it. Doesn't mean it's real or not real, you know, but what made this particular situation more real was that after Roswell in 1947 crashed, anything in the sky, no matter what it was a UFO.
Yeah.
So basically everything after 1947, you got to take with a grain of salt.
With a grain of salt.
There are legitimate weird things that have happened over Pittsburgh after 1947, which are in those reports.
Yeah.
First thing I did when I started really digging into it, I'm like, well, if I want to find out the answer to all of Pittsburgh's questions, I'm going to need access to the FBI files, archives, unsolicited access to everything the FBI has, everything the CIA has, everything the History Center has, everything the Carnegie Library has, everything everybody has. Well, you make friends in unusual places, number one. Number two, you'd be surprised what they'll let you look at if you just ask.
Yeah.
And I did that. So I was able to get like declassified Roberto Clemente's FBI file where there was assassination attempt on him in 1972 that nobody knew about.
No shit.
ESPN doesn't even know about it.
Why?
I don't know. I guess he purposely he didn't want people to know about it. So they just.
No, I mean, like, why were people trying to assassinate him?
That just, you know, unfortunately, if you're too good of a guy, you know, if you're JFK, you know,
that's a good point.
You're only going to be there, you know, you're a Martin Luther King. You're only going to be there so long, you know, Gandhi, you know, all the good ones.
Yeah.
They'll go.
Heavy lies the crown.
Yeah.
Heavy bears the crown or whatever.
Yeah. And, but that gets like I totally forgot what I was just talking about.
You were talking about the FBI files and getting access.
So
look at that. I'm a professional.
Yeah. So I go and I say, I told him, I was like, does Pittsburgh even have like a blue book file? You know,
what's a blue book file?
The blue book files are the declassified UFO reports for the U.S. government. Most of that you can view online. Project Blue Book, it's called.
Okay.
Which was the legitimate reportings of UFOs. And so the guy said, like, well, I don't have anything here at the downtown Pittsburgh office, but our the Air Force, the Air Force base out in Moon Township is where they kept all the records. The 9/11th Air Force base in Moon Township. I was like, oh, okay. So I made a deal with them that I'd give a talk to all the soldiers and all the people that were there, or the reserves, Army Reserve, and I talked about Pittsburgh history and stuff. And afterwards, they let me have full access to the FBI files.
No way.
So now a lot of it was, blacked out and things like that, like you would normally expect.
Yeah.
But what I didn't expect was stuff prior to 1947. And it's just as weird as you would think. It's just like all the different reports. And I have posted some on my Facebook page. If you go to like the photo album section, go way back to the very beginning, you'll see I posted what they allowed me to share, what they gave me copies of. But some of it's like legitimate, unknown,
cause for concern.
Unknown aircraft flying the sky
after it was
shouldn't be there.
After it was publicized, and made like, a pop culture phenomenon.
You did have reports of meteorites and things like that would, people didn't know what it was, that they would call the Air Force or whatever and think it was a missile or something else. Or you had the Kecksburg incident and stuff like that.
Ridiculous.
But like they wouldn't let me get into all that. But they let me get into all the stuff that seemingly nobody really cared about, except for me and obviously some other people, because like I know what people want to see that. I know people want to know.
100%. I'm all into that. I'm all into that.
Yeah. So it's like, I need to track it down. And like
so if someone wanted to read about, the stuff before Roswell and everything, how can you do that?
Yeah. Go to specifically the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Photo albums and look for Project Blue Book. I posted everything I have.
Wow.
Now, that might be the only way you could do it. You could get in later Project Blue stuff, Project Blue Book stuff, but you'd have to go like personally access, if you want, on your computer to the FBI's website and look through their archives.
Yeah.
You can do that, but understand they're going to be looking back.
Yeah, for sure.
So but I always made everything very transparent with them, with anybody I talk to, and say like, here's my end goal. Here's what I want to share with everybody.
Wow.
Help me do that, like, and I do, number one, I do all this for free.
Yeah.
So it's all like, nobody's paid me a dime to research any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's all, I've written books and things like that, or give speeches and, I get paid to do that. But like, no, there's no real agenda behind, just pure fascination. I just want to know.
Yeah.
And I figured everyone else might want to know too.
Absolutely.
And then it could be about anything. Like you could see, like I brought.
What about Bigfoot?
I go on and on and on about Bigfoot. Now, unusually so though, the Blue Ridge Mountains and all up by Westmoreland County, and specifically like near Mount Pleasant area, is like a hotbed of sightings throughout time.
That's what I hear, Mount Pleasant for sure.
What do you want to hear? Something about Mount Pleasant?
Yeah, that's the only place. So like I said, I have no cause to lie about anything, but I did, during COVID, I wasn't having people into the house, so I would do research things. So I reached out on Facebook and I posted, does anyone have any experiences with UFOs or any sort of shit like that?
Right.
And I had some people hit me back, and I had some pretty wild stuff happen. First off, my uncle has lived up in Acme, PA, my whole life. They have 60 acres, typical. It's like some shit you'd see in signs, two kids my age. I was probably 13 or 14. And what we would do for fun, because we didn't drive, they had a big driveway and we would play deck hockey out there.
Right.
So we're sitting there. It's dark out. I look up over the hill. Mind you, I've spent a lot of time up there, so I know what's common.
Yeah.
And it was a blinking red light, very big one. And we're sitting there playing, and it's there for half hour, 40 minutes. And I'm like, what the hell is that?
Right.
So I asked my cousin, I go, what do you think that is? And I said, is that a cell phone tower? He's like, no. He goes in and he gets his telescope, and we bring it out. And I swear to you, on my grandfather's grave, we get this telescope set up. We go to sight it in towards this light, and I have no cause to make this up. Shoots directly up into the air and disappears.
Wow.
And that was like the first experience I ever had with like wild stuff. Never seen or heard anything else. But the last chick that I talked to, she told me about, she was camping with friends in I think the Allegheny National Forest, and has literally the wildest abduction story that I've ever heard in my life.
Wow.
And granted, people could be lying to my face about it, but it's like, what is it going to benefit you to just like, if anything, I'm going to call you a lunatic,
Right.
or people are going to call you a lunatic. So like, what are you getting out of this? You're not, there's no fame out of this. So it's like, why make this up?
Yeah.
The details and the weirdness of it is just like, and there's 2 other people that had similar types of stories.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I saw almost the exact same thing you're describing in Cranberry one time with my mom and dad. They both saw it too. And it was just hovering above some woods.
How old?
And took straight up. This was straight up in the sky. This was only like maybe 15 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
Similar.
Yeah, might have been the same thing. It was about 15 years ago.
Right. Now, was it, well, number one, it is a UFO because you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's an unidentified flight. So
Fair.
Legitimately, it's
Touche.
a UFO. So, whether it's from outer space, intelligent, maybe not yet, but like no doubt that there's billions of aliens, I'm sure. It's just like, were they hovering around those woods and in that part of Pennsylvania? I don't know.
Yeah.
So now, is there a possibility that something might be cursed with Mount Pleasant? That, on the other hand, is true.
Yeah. I want to hear all about it.
It is cursed.
Why?
Do you know how Mount Pleasant got its name?
It's probably not pleasant.
No. The original name of Mount Pleasant borough
Mount Hell
was Helltown.
No fucking way.
Now, here's where it gets weird. If you look at you just type in the history of that, Mount Pleasant, PA, you will find on Wikipedia or Google Books, maybe even, you might find a loose history. Even in their published history books written by people from Mount Pleasant, they'll write about this one particular thing that happened in 1820 when somebody was like apparently coming through this town. At that time, it was like a lawless town, which is why it was called Helltown, they said. The guy stopped into a bar. So told the guy, he's like, hey, I'm coming from Pittsburgh and this place isn't that bad. I think in fact it's, I kind of have a pleasant view. You should call it like Mount Pleasant. And then I don't know how these things happen, but apparently the decision was made that, okay, we'll just stop calling it Helltown.
I don't know how these decisions happen.
And in like 1820 specifically, that they picked that day or whatever in the certain day, and that's considered the founding of Mount Pleasant Borough, like that day in 1820. Well, luckily for us, advent of technology has since come around, and you can now search Greensburg Gazette newspapers going back to like the 1700s. Same with the Pittsburgh papers. You can go back to 1798 in the Pittsburgh papers. And sure enough, that's not how it got its Helltown. It's not how they got rid of the name Helltown. How they got the name Helltown was in 1809. Well, I don't know exactly how they got it, but I knew how they got rid of it. And that was almost a decade earlier than what was the published history of the founding of the town.
Yeah.
In 1809, in the Greensburg Gazette, which is the newspaper of the time. And I went through so many different other newspapers too to try to see if there's legitimate other things I could tie around this event. But apparently in 1809, the residents were so fed up with whatever was happening in this town that they decided to make a devil out of like an effigy, burn it in the middle of the town square, and try to abolish the name Helltown once and for all. And they even said that if anyone were to ever come, and I have the actual, I don't know if I have it with me, but I legitimately have the thing that was written on like the town charter saying that if any child dares come here in the next 100 years and disturbs the tranquility of this place, forever be cursed in the name of Helltown, right? Nothing happened. So, they get rid of they burn this weird devil in effigy, which is bizarre enough, in the middle of the town square. And it's in all the newspapers that this event occurred and all these people coming to town, talking about the town. And, you think it would just stop at that and be like, okay, well, that's weird. You now call it Mount Pleasant, but now it's called used to be called Helltown. That's just weird. It doesn't stop there.
Is there witches and shit?
1850s, there's a schoolhouse. Now, I like I said it before, I'm crazy. So I've researched bizarre things. So I've researched like the history of every church, the history of every school in that town, the history of everything I could possibly find. And in this one written history of this like Methodist church or whatever, in the Sunday school, they noted about this unusual event that occurred there in the 1850s. And they have the exact date in the thing, where they said that the children were out playing in the yard one day when they looked up and they saw a circle around the sun. So the circle was not only just surrounding the sun, but it was split in a couple different versions of the circle, intersecting with like other circles. And they go in great detail talking about how this was. And they said after this event, within the next 30 days, essentially 75% of the town died.
No way.
No joke. And I did track down the cemetery, and you can go there and find a grave and see like there's hundreds of graves that all died in 1851 or whatever. Now, it could have been a pandemic, could have been something, but most locals assumed that it was a curse, that the kids disturbed the tranquility of this place and are now being cursed for whatever they unlocked. Okay? It doesn't stop there. In the other Greensburg Gazette and all the other newspapers start just searching for Mount Pleasant and weird things tied around with devils or Satan or or dark stuff. And it turns out there's like a weird underground satanic thing happening in that town. And it's been happening for 200 years. I'll give you a prime example. In the 1890s, this is many years after this town was founded. 1890s, there was a visiting priest coming there for Christmas that had advertised that he was going to give a talk about Satan on Christmas Eve to like the congregation of this church. And another guy coming in there talking about the transit of Venus, which was like an unusual event that happened in the 1880s, where he talked specifically about inviting the devil to come view it with him at Mount Pleasant, right? And it gets weirder and weirder. There was a lady who threw her child in the middle of the street in like the 1950s, claiming that Satan made her do it. There's crazy people, of course. But then it keeps on going and going and going, including stuff that happens. Like in 2003, someone found like a dead goat along with all this bizarre stuff, and they arrested the whole family and everything for torturing animals.
No
like
way.
Legitimately weird stuff.
I don't even know what's going on, but my eyes are just watering.
Well, get ready. I might even have to take a breath, because this next factoid is going to blow your mind. Okay? The United States Geographical Board, prior to 1963, there was no such thing as zip codes. Okay? When choosing a zip code out of a hat, okay, which is, if you just type in Mount Pleasant today, you go to the Renaissance Fair, you want to go to Mount Pleasant.
666.
15666.
No fucking way.
Yes way. So
Jesus.
That's my weird story about Mount Pleasant. So there's something going on in Mount Pleasant for sure.
It's like I have family that just live up there, so it's like it's weird.
No doubt. You could just Google News archive like Mount Pleasant unusual things, and you're going to see a weird pattern. Now, it happens to be right next to where Kecksburg is.
Yeah, Kecksburg.
Bigfoot reports and all that type of crazy stuff.
Jeez.
There's just something weird going on in that part of Pennsylvania. I don't know.
I don't even know. I feel like overwhelmed. Like I don't even know. I have like tears in my eyes, and it's like I don't even get it.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like,
holy
and I did.
Shit.
I actually went up there, and I made my wife, drag me up. I dragged her up there, and the kids, with the excuse of going to the Renaissance Fair, just so I could check out where they burned the devil in effigy up there. And
you found it? Where they did it?
Oh yeah.
Where's it at?
In the middle of the town square. Yeah.
Like in Mount Pleasant, like, are you familiar with where that like statue is?
Exactly there. It's exactly where that statue was.
They burnt the fucking devil where the statue is.
Yes. And in great detail, they go on to talk about this. And it's not just in one paper, like I said, like an offshoot, like some article someone made up. It's every, contemporary newspaper mentions these things.
Holy shit.
So now, nobody knew this, up until, because it's so hard to find what I found. Which is a good thing and a bad thing, right? It's a bad thing because no one else knew this, apparently. And it's a good thing because, like, now for the first time ever, you're all of a sudden seeing a new history being written, one that was always there. It's just that needed to be put back together. And that's literally sums up kind of what I do, is that I take all these hundreds of sources that exist out there that people have already done work, and I pull it all together and make it better.
Yeah.
And try to take it somewhere else.
I just think of you of like Matthew McConaughey in True Detective. It's like pointing all the shit that's like corkboarded up.
The family trees genealogy, like I mentioned, I have 20,000 profiles I've created single-handedly.
Yeah.
Like legit, and you can't put anything on that site unless it's sourced. So everything has to have a source. Now that made me, I think I worked so much on my family tree during COVID that it made me sick, because I was so obsessed with tracking ancestors, not only ancestors. What I decided to do was, most people don't realize that, even if you're an only child, I'm an only child. So I've always been looking for family my whole life. I'm looking for, a brother or anybody.
Yeah.
There's nothing. What I didn't realize is that my family, your family, everyone's family is gigantic.
Oh, I bet.
It's all attached. Everybody's attached to everybody else. I've even spent the time to track down every single notable Pittsburgh celebrity, like Fred Rogers, Andrew Carnegie, and not only go back into all their genealogies, not only have I traced down every single descendant from Andrew Carnegie and every Pittsburgh notable person. Now, most of these people might not even know they're related to Andrew Carnegie. That's how deep I've gotten to their family trees, like fourth cousins, and quicker. But I'm also trying to connect them all to each other.
Jesus.
So get Fred Rogers' genealogy back on one side of his family tree to Scotland somewhere, to Dunfermline, Scotland, attached to, if you go back far enough, 16 generations, I'm related to Andrew Carnegie. So probably you. Anybody. From Scotland, to that part of Scotland is probably related somehow to his family. And that opened up a whole new world. So I made it a mission to I started with my third great-grandparents. So great-great-great-grandparents, Not only do I know who all of them were and have complete biographies and I know what they were doing every 5 years of their life, but I've tracked down every single child of every single one of those ancestors. And I'm over to like 1,200, just third cousins or closer is what you're talking about. That's a close family and huge. Just on like one of my Italian sides, there's like hundreds of cousins in Pittsburgh that I've never met. They would never have any idea that I'm related to them, other than something like most of them don't even know their family tree.
Yeah.
Like, can you name all 16 of your great-grandparents?
I literally know nothing of my family tree.
You had 16 great-great-great-grandparents. 16 people needed to not fall down a hole for you to be here, and you don't even know their name. Now, you're not alone. Everybody's like this.
I know.
Now,
I need to figure out more of it, though.
What you do find out is that, us, will one day be that.
Yeah.
Just some blip in a memory of some book that's somewhere, unless you can make a difference. And I kind of like, I always like to share the saying that I came across. I don't know where, I have looked to try to find out who came up with it, but quotes are hard to find who or where it originated sometimes. This quote always stuck with me. Was that you die 2 deaths, right? One is your natural death, how you die. The second is the last time someone speaks your name. And I feel like I don't know why, but like I was, chosen or whatever to feel this guilt kind of all these unwritten tales of these people who were just dead and forgotten. And like everyone's forgotten about them.
Dude, this is insane. So like this is really like, this is fucking crazy.
Nice. It's like, I, for example, delved into, I was curious, and it's my curiosity. It's where it gets me. Like I was curious, like who was the first janitor at the very first Pittsburgh high school ever? Right? Can that information even be found? Why would anybody even care about the first janitor?
What's the first high school?
It's called Pittsburgh Central. It was right on top of the hill where the Pacific Arena used to be, like Bedford Avenue, like that hill right there. Connolly Technical School is almost right where it is today. But, is there a janitor? Like, does anybody even care about the janitor? Like, I cared. Like, I remember when I was in high school, I always, made friends with the lunch ladies and the janitors, all those.
Jimmy Tyrone. Yeah, shout out to EF.
Yeah, right. So, like, would anybody care about him from 1850 or whenever the first school opened up? And like, so I tracked him down. He appears in the yearbook from the school. But I did the extras research and look into his family tree, find out how he immigrated to Pittsburgh, what brought him to work at the high school. Why wasn't he a teacher? Why was he the janitor? Like, what's the story like behind this one man?
Holy shit.
His name was Hugh Boyce. I never forgot it.
Hugh,
Boyce. He's buried under like just a rock. Like there's not even his full name's not even on this tombstone. Just walked over every day at Allegheny Cemetery. Like I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm doing it for all these other people.
Wow.
So, and the thing about saying like you don't die, you die the last time someone speaks your name. It's true. Look at Beethoven. Everyone knows who he is, right? So we're talking about him. We're listening to his stuff. We're actually participating in like
something that
keeping him alive.
Always stuck in my mind was, what the hell was his name? Steve Jobs said, he said, I want to put a ding in the universe. And like, that's such a broad thing to say, but it really like always stuck with me. It's I want to do something that's going to provide something
for sure.
That's going to,
obviously
a legacy of it.
Yeah. I mean, clearly, Pittsburgh is the starting place. I've already thought about it, like years ago. I was like, well, I'll just do the odd, fascinating history of America.
Yeah.
I'll just do the odd, fascinating history of the world. I'll just do that. I think I'd explode,
Yeah, for sure. It would be way too much.
I could do it.
Yeah, but it's just like, look how much crazy.
All this is, so far, it's just me.
Yeah, I know. But this is like, I'm sure that you probably haven't even touched on, 80, 90% of the other shit that you have no idea that's even there. The stuff about Mount Pleasant, like really kind of twisted me up.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to start researching that.
I'll send you afterwards. I don't know if I printed it.
Oh, I'm going to be bugging you for sure because I want to read all this.
There's more to that story too.
I got to keep pushing through this because it kind of follows through it. But someone said, can you expand on the PA Canal? Because I never heard about this either. For people that don't know what it was, it's a water system before highways and railroads.
Well, imagine a giant log jammer from Kennywood.
Yeah.
From Philadelphia to Pittsburgh.
That's what it was?
That's what the Pennsylvania Canal was. No electricity, right? No power boats or anything like this. No steam engines. It was literally at an angle from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh on a log. Essentially a raft log.
Jeez.
What
years?
Well, prior to the railroad,
yeah,
which was like 1850s, like mid 1850s, 1860s, 1860s is when the railroad really kind of picked up.
How long is that journey?
A while.
Yeah, I bet.
Take you days. And any notable person coming through Pittsburgh at that time, because the only other way here was literally on a Conestoga wagon.
Yeah.
So imagine taking like a covered wagon from wherever you were coming from to Pittsburgh. The easiest, best way to do it was the Pennsylvania Canal.
That's
Charles
wild.
Dickens, when he came to visit, traveled on the Pennsylvania Canal. He wrote about it. You could read his diary page by page about him traveling all up and down the Allegheny and like how he got here to Pittsburgh and what he thought about it. Yeah, and that's cool. So like when you start learning about like who would have used this system, in that time period, because it was only there for maybe at the most 20 years at the most before they banished it because they had the railroad now.
Jesus, how many people do you think died doing that?
A lot. So they also found parts of it when they were digging for the U.S. Steel Building.
What do you mean they found parts of it?
They were digging for U.S. Steel Building, unbeknownst to some people, but I knew this, but they didn't. But there was an underground tunnel, a canal tunnel that goes underneath Pittsburgh, which was right there. They found it when they were just digging up the building in 1982.
Jesus, this is insane. So Charles was asking me about this from Pittsburgh Then and Now. He was saying, do you have any more information on City Hall whenever it was in Smithfield Street or on Smithfield Street? Said that he was interested in the day-to-day operations of it. He said he heard someone might have died in the chambers at one point. Do you know anything about that at all?
Well, I'm sure many people have probably died in that building, in those chambers.
Yeah.
There might be a famous case where someone was not guilty and then passed away right there and then, I'm sure that does have happened. But the history of Pittsburgh Courthouse and what you do with criminals is fascinating. So back in the day, when it was back in Wilderness and Fort Pitt times, if you did something against the crime, they would take care of swift justice right then and there, or they would send you to Hannistown, which is near Ligonier.
Come up on this mic.
Yeah, like Ligonier.
What do you mean swift justice? What would they do? Like, what was their preferred way?
Just shoot you on the street, or hang you.
Shoot you.
Now, they did people were very formal back then, even the way they carried out justice and what they did for disobeying. And there was different punishments for different types of things. So like an early punishment, for example, during the Revolutionary War, like people always, I would say people, but it's really just me. I was always curious, like, I know a little bit about the American Revolutionary War or what happened in Boston or Philadelphia, but what happened in Pittsburgh during the Revolutionary War? No one has ever told me. So there was a lot that happened, and it's a whole. Yeah,
that's a whole episode.
Do a whole show, like the series of shows and stuff just during the Revolutionary War. But to put it quickly, the governor of Virginia, who was being still controlled under the government of England, by the King of England, was telling the governor of Virginia what to do, told them to go invade the point of Pittsburgh, the Fort Pitt, take it over, claim it in the name of Virginia, and in essence, Great Britain. And they did. And he came here in 1775, forced all the people of Pittsburgh to run away or abide by the king rule, not the New Americans rule, or pay the penalty, which they did. Like the guy, I found out this, I became obsessed with learning about the history of every single street downtown. I want to know who's Smithfield, who's Grant, who's all that stuff. And I developed I can't even fully explain the extent of history I know about the downtown Pittsburgh streets. But Smithfield was named after a guy named Devereux Smith, who was there during that time period where Virginia came and took it over. They renamed Fort Pitt Fort Dunmore. They did all this other crazy stuff. But they put this guy, Smith, in the dungeon at Fort Pitt. Now, I never knew there was a dungeon at Fort Pitt. It makes it much more cooler,
Yeah.
Right away, I'm like, the dungeon at Fort Pitt,
Yeah, it's wild.
And there's records. You can read the court records, which I have. You just got to know kind of where to look. But you can read the day-to-day court records of Fort Dunmore and realize what the penalties were or what was given out for not declaring worship to the King of England.
Wow.
And the Devereux Smith had his ears cut in half as punishment for saying that he didn't want to be part of Virginia. He wanted to be part of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
That's what it was originally, but no one even knew. It wasn't until Mason Dixon came around and then one of them died during the making of that line, and it just left unfinished for 30 years. No one knew where Pennsylvania ended and where Virginia began or West Virginia. No one knew. It just ended.
Wow.
So another thing no one tells you, And I learned about, those people. Jeez. So it's like, there's always more to the story. That's why I found out there's always more to the story. But Pittsburgh at first did and I know he knows this, but they did their first courthouse in the middle of Market Square is where the first courthouse, and there was a wooden jail.
Wow.
Right there in the Diamond Market. And then by like the 1840s or whatever, they decided to build like a stone courthouse on the top of this place downtown Pittsburgh, which was a legendary place, which was the location of Grant's Hill, and or the worst defeat of like a European army ever in American history, early American history.
Jeez.
And that was the happened before the Battle of Monongahela, which is a whole nother story with General Braddock and all this stuff. This happened like prior to that, the siege of Fort Pitt, it was called. And they failed. And they were all massacred and everything, and everyone died on that hill, which is today where the courthouse stands, the courthouse. But the first one was built there, and it was on top of a hill. So if you were to look downtown Pittsburgh, you would see like a hill, two hills really, the hill to the right where Duquesne University is, and then a hill in the middle of downtown Pittsburgh, as tall as Mount Washington.
Jesus.
So if you were like standing on the Ohio River, like you'd see like a mountain in the middle of downtown Pittsburgh. That was Grant's Hill. That's where the courthouse is. Now they slowly, throughout hundreds of years, would cut down that hill. And the last time they did it was like in 1915.
Wow.
They call it the hump cut because there was this big hump in Pittsburgh for hundreds of years. Even during the 1900s, it was still there. It wasn't until like they finally were able to lower it down, which you can see evidence for it all over Pittsburgh. Like at the courthouse and jail, you could see that the first floor was under the ground. They had to dig all that out. But that's kind of the loose history, about now. I'm sure, like, I don't know of an exact, particular case where someone like perished in the courtroom.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
that's understandable.
There's plenty of weird things that have happened there. Now, I was part of a secret team to go find the cornerstone. There was apparently 3 that were buried in that building in 1916, and the city county building right attached to the courthouse. And we couldn't find it, although I did get to dig, we ripped the place. They closed it on a Sunday, and we were able to go in there and just rip apart the main entrances to the building. Like we removed all the air conditioning grates. We ripped everything out. We went to the basement, and dug up underneath. Yeah, there's tunnels underneath all those buildings.
When was this?
That was during the bicentennial of Pittsburgh in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, me and along with 10 other people, we all went there, and the FBI came actually with bomb detecting devices and everything. We were legitimately looking for the real deal. And we couldn't find it.
Like Nick Cage in National Treasure.
Yeah, I kind of live that life. Yeah, it's kind of weird. And I do have stuff that I didn't bring it, obviously. This drill bite's here, but I have legitimately historic, probably the most fascinating piece of Pittsburgh memorabilia was I was able to get my hands on the actual document that was presented to William Pitt himself.
Really?
Making him the Earl of Chatham. Now, the Earl of Chatham, which is with his professional title, he became the Prime Minister of Great Britain, William Pitt. That's how it was named after him. Kind of like, the President of England,
Yeah.
He was given that nobility title of the Earl of Chatham in this, I can't remember which year, it was the 1700s. But that family crest that he was given, that thing, that document, not only is why we call it Chatham University and all that, but it is the first appearance. Number one, it's his family crest, so it has what appears today on the Pittsburgh city flag.
Wow!
But it's the first document with black and gold associated with William Pitt.
No way!
And I have it. It's in my basement. Just sitting there collecting dust. I don't know what I do. Need to do something with it. But at the moment, that's my coolest thing that I have laying around.
Wow!
The house. And then
where did you get that?
Well, that I had to get so most of the stuff like that book I was showing you, I didn't show it to you yet, but that book's from 1753. Well, actually, sorry, 1754. It's the first known document that even has the word Pittsburgh on it. Like the Pittsburgh as a concept didn't exist prior to November of 1758.
And it had the H.
This is from January 1759.
It had the H on it.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. That's today, actually.
Yeah,
Today's our anniversary of the H.
That's why I was that's how I was gonna bring it. I was gonna open this up, but we just went into a crazy. I couldn't even imagine what we were gonna talk about.
Yeah. The courthouses and all the unusual stuff. People did it's a fascinating history looking into that type of, or one building, picking a building like a courthouse and say, okay, tell me everything that's ever happened at the courthouse, like good or bad. And most of the times through written history, you're going to find only good.
Yeah.
And that's unique, I guess, in this day and age too, is that like,
I just heard this quote that stuck with me. It said, the only history you learn from has all been written from winners or something like that.
Yeah, the victors. Yeah, victors already, they always write the history, which is true.
Yeah, victors always write the history, but you want to learn about it from the losers as well.
Yeah. My favorite story from Pittsburgh history, early Pittsburgh history, I have so many favorite stories, but like they're all my favorite stories. But one that really stands out to me is the story about this French soldier, this guy named Daniel Linard. Oh, I almost remembered his last name. Daniel Linard is his first and middle name, at least. Anyways, I'm sure it will come to me. He was stationed at Fort Duquesne in a time period when there was like 30 other French soldiers, and that was it. Okay, the way outnumbering them was the Native Americans at that time. And like I mentioned earlier, it's just like a group of Native Americans from all over the country, all settling in a place called Logstown, which is in Ambridge today. All the chiefs from all the different tribes were all there. And if you wanted to do anything like travel farther down the river or hunt or do something like that, you had to ask permission and present them with things and give a speech and all that type of stuff. Well, this guy, this Daniel guy, knew, or he kind of heard from scouts that General Braddock was coming marching here with not just General Braddock, but George Washington, Daniel Boone, like the legendaries of the most legendary old time historical figures were all in this group of people coming to Pittsburgh to try to kick the French out. There was it's not 30 guys, it's a little bit more than 30 guys, but under 100 people. I know that for sure. We're at Fort Duquesne. This guy says, there's no way we're going to win against 5,000 troops from who knows what, like professional, like organized continental line troops marching here. There's no way we're going to be able to save Fort Duquesne. The only way we could do it is we could convince these Native Americans to fight with us. And so he went down to Logstown and talked to them in his big speech, which is published. He wrote down the speech and you can read it if you know where to look. It was actually published in the Baptismal Registry of Fort Duquesne is where I found it, which was like a book written after the fact, but compiled early history of burials at the point. And there's many. But in the name, I know every name that was buried down there. I know when they were born, when they died, where they were from, little biographies about what they did. Like I know all that for down at the point. But this Daniel went there, tried to plead with the Native Americans, and they said, no, we're not going to help you. We like you and stuff, but we were kind of here first. Yeah. And, whatever happens, happens. So he's depressed, whatever comes back. He tells everyone, I don't know what we're going to do now. It's just, maybe we can hire some people, if someone go right now, maybe we can get up to Lake Erie and get some troops or something to come and help us, but never going to make it here in time. So he decides to do something that no one in France has ever done, or approach the Native Americans this way. And he goes there, right? Again, it says like, I'm pleading with you, brothers, please help me. It's like, I've been good to you and all this type of thing, and I will continue to be good for you. He's like, give me your war paint. And he like paints the war paint on his hand, rips off his shirt and fights like one of the Native Americans and leads the charge. And they were like, oh my God, yes. And they all get up and literally follow him on the warpath.
Shit.
He ends up leading like 1,500 Native Americans out the Braddock, PA, and completely wipes out General Braddock's army. The worst defeat in early American military history.
Jeez.
That event where Braddock was killed, Daniel was leading the charge and was one of the first people shot on the French side, unfortunately.
No way.
Yeah, riding in the battle. And he was bravely brought back to the Fort Duquesne and buried right there at the point in an unmarked grave still to this day. No sign. You're not going to find a sign to this guy. There's no plaque. There's no tombstone, obviously.
That is
nobody even knows the story except for every year on this day that it happened. I try to post 262 years ago on this day, this guy did this incredible thing that everyone's forgot. And because nobody writes about, like you said, history is written by the victors. The British were the victors. Yeah. Who's talking about brave French people?
My goodness.
But there were brave French people.
Yeah.
There was brave everybody from every side. Everyone's got a story to tell. Every single one of them. So where do you, but that's a cool story. It's one of my favorite, early stories about an unwritten guy who, completely lost the time that unless you knew, and that's kind of what the page is. What I do is I try to let you know about it. And then if you want to find out more information, then you can find out. Yeah. I'll help you find, if you just reach out to me, I'll tell you, we can work together and try to find the answer. But it's like a jumping off point, like Gustav Whitehead. I say,
yeah,
here's a guy who flew a plane. No, here's all the evidence I have, and I'll find more.
Wow.
Like become part of the team. Like and I do it in the name of Pittsburgh, and I never let anybody tell me no. Number one.
What do you mean?
Can't see something? Like I was at the Perrysville. They were going to tear down John Brashear's telescope factory. Now, John Brashear is like, I mean, I did a whole episode of my podcast about that. Incredible guy. He did so much contribution to how we view the night sky, just in general.
I just started learning about this because my buddy just bought a house in Perrysville.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, like his epitaph is him and his wife. His wife goes hand in hand with him, too. It's important to mention that. But it says, we were too fond. His epitaph is, we were too fond of the stars to be fearful of the night.
Holy shit.
And it's on. He's buried there at Riverview Park underneath the telescope. That's where that epitaph sits. But anyways,
we were too fond of the stars to ever fear the night.
Fearful of the night. Yes.
I got chills.
I know, it's great. It was actually written by one of his students later after the fact. But
man, that's powerful.
During that time period, yeah, it was written. And he was, I mean, you wouldn't believe.
I know, you can go in a whole, because I didn't know anything about him until my buddy was like, you need to look into it.
Oh, it's incredible.
Let me ask you this, because.
I'll just
go ahead.
What was the, I can't remember what I was going to say now.
I'm sorry. I interrupted you of it.
Why no one says no. Ready?
Oh, yeah.
So I knew that this place, his factory was going to be torn down. Now, it was abandoned for like 30 years, just sitting there on Perry Highway, waiting to be torn down. Only, a select group of people even knew that John Brashear was attached to this place, let alone that was the factory.
Yeah.
So they tear it down, and I show up along with some other people who were there, but I went there, and the workers found a time capsule. And included like locks of hair, like the original first ever telescope lens ever created was in there, like a photograph of
what year was this?
Park. He must have put it there by like the 1880s by the time he had that shop opening. Prior to that, he lived in Southside, and he was just like, became like a Pittsburgh, like a Randy Land.
Yeah.
Where like,
people just loved him.
You want to go see the stars? Go see John Brashear. Now, you're talking about a time period where nobody, unless somebody was traveling through your town with a telescope, had the even capabilities
to see it.
So he wanted that. And
Jesus.
I read his autobiography, and he talks about the impact of showing this guy who was like 78 years old at that time. And this was like in the 1880s, coming to him saying he's never, he doesn't even know if the moon's made out of Swiss cheese, like no one's he's never been able to see it. So he was talking about giving like people their first and only time to look at the night skies, to be like amazed just like he was when he was a little kid. He later became the chancellor of the University of Pittsburgh, among many other things. Anyways, they find this time capsule, and the workmen, the guys, not the city of Pittsburgh, not anybody else, the guys digging up the thing took it. And I literally jumped in the car, like a la Indiana Jones style, and try to rip it out of the guy's hand. Yeah. Like
what did it look like?
They ended up taking it. I made sure we got all the information, and we did kind of settle it then and there. And eventually they made a undisclosed deal with the History Center and sold it to them.
Oh, okay.
So it's all
the workers did.
Yeah.
And it's all down there.
Yeah.
And you saw what this capsule looked like?
I was there when it was open.
What did it look like? What was it in?
It was like a big stone edifice at the corner of the building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was clear.
I imagine it like a metal box or something.
I know of a bunch that exist around that would be cool to dig up, like the Westinghouse one that has all this futuristic stuff in there, but like it's not supposed to be open till the year 3000 and something, according to that. But what happens is, people don't know the history, or it's just so buried because like it's hard if you don't know what you're looking for. There's nothing,
What do you think like a time capsule like it? Do you think that that's hundreds of thousands?
His stuff, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like
he today, the current on the Hubble Space Telescope. Now the new one, doesn't have it, but on the Hubble, John Brashear's contributions to science contributed to that instrument, that microscope or the telescope.
Jesus,
telescopes in Peru, in Hawaii, and all over the world still to this day contain Brashear lenses that were manufactured way long time ago. Absolute awesome guy to look into. He was just one of, like
100,
like I said,
significant people in the city.
Janitor in Pittsburgh, the janitor of the first high school. He's just as significant in my mind than John Brashear.
Jesus.
Everybody's got a story to tell.
All right, I gotta keep pushing on with this, because the other one that I'm curious about, if you know anything that someone asked, they said the Green Man.
Oh yeah,
it's like, I don't really know anything about that. I remember going there, you take girls there in high school, and you're like, I assume that they meant the one over towards like West Mifflin, Century 3 area.
Yeah.
Do you know any history about that?
I do. Everybody in Pittsburgh knows.
I do
a little bit about the Green Man.
Yeah.
I knew lots of people who knew the Green Man.
Yeah, so my interpretation of what I always heard as a kid is that little tunnel. You go in there, you beep 3 times, turn your lights off, the tunnel turns green, and a guy comes out. I have no other idea of where the origin comes from.
Well, there was a legit guy. His name was, I'm going to say Robbie Robertson, although I know that's the lead singer from the band, like the band. But I believe his name was Robert Robertson. Anyways, he was a real man. Apparently, like struck by lightning or something one day as a young individual, and was horribly disfigured.
Wow.
No eyes. He could talk. His mouth. He could hear still. But he had literally no sockets for eyes. Disturbing. Like, if you've ever seen an actual photograph of the real man, it's like one of those things where
There's an actual photo of him?
Oh yeah. In fact, prior to doing this kind of legend trip, they call it, which is going to that tunnel that you're talking about, Green Man's Tunnel, which is there's nothing. It's just an old tunnel.
Yeah. Now I don't even think you can go in it now. They have like a bunch of
no
shit
connection to
there.
there's zero like legitimate connection to the guy who the Green Man legend is attached to. One thing you find with all legends, not just Pittsburgh legends, but all legends like this, is that they're all loosely based somewhere on some kind of truth, and then they take off on a life of their own.
Yeah, because it's like the game Telephone. It's
exactly
like someone starts that, and they're like, "Oh, but I heard he had a fucking set of wings on him or something."
Yeah. I know a guy who legitimately that's what he studies is folklore and that type of stuff, and he's done that with the Green Man.
He's from around here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the curator of the Duquesne University Library.
I got to get some people from you.
He's a cool guy. He's like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox.
One of my favorite that people are slept on.
Okay, right.
So, how many people? I feel like no one has ever seen it.
I would expect you to say no. That's what I was expecting you to say no.
No one has ever seen that.
Okay, well, so you have. So the guy Jeffrey Combs.
Yep.
Also in Reanimator and all that later. That's who this guy's like.
No way.
He's seen things that I only can like imagine. He's like the legit, folklorist. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's got like tattoos all over his body.
Man.
He was talking about how in North Park there's a place like that called Blue Mist Road.
I've heard that. Yeah,
it's another legend like Green Man's Tunnel.
Yeah,
or the Green Man himself, where depending upon what year it is the story that you're going to get. So if you were to tell someone about the Green Man Tunnel in the 1987, I say, well, of course, that's where all the Satanists who listen to Ozzy Osbourne live. If you were to say it, the Green Man Tunnel in the 1970s, I say, well, I heard that's where the KKK was. If you say it's something prior to that, there used to be a burnt orphanage somewhere nearby.
I've heard about that too. Children, 13 Bends, it's called, or whatever.
Yeah, 13 Bends. Now there's all loosely based on some sort of little thing.
Yeah,
but it's interesting to see where it literally is a game of telephone. And you can track it. And that's what this guy does. He tracks the new additions to the stories that keep coming up every year.
And kind of updates it and proofreads it, whatever.
And eventually you go back to Robert Robinson, the real man who was green, who people took photos with, gave him cigarettes, would talk to him for endless amounts of time, watch baseball games with him or talk to him about, an experience like this guy's life.
He was green?
No.
Okay.
They said that because he was hit by lightning, rumored, that he would like glow in the middle of the night walking home.
That makes sense.
But he didn't. He was just a normal guy like me who happened to have a bad accident when he was a kid that disfigured him for life, that people kind of poked fun at him and made fun of him. And now he's forever known as the Green Man. Now, that's the thing. Is it a good thing or a bad thing that people continued this guy's legacy? If we didn't have the Green Man legend, or if I didn't tell you that story about little Catherine Agnes Hughes and the Boogeyman,
no one would ever.
No one. It's as if she never was born ever.
You keep these alive, and it's wild. Like, is. I can't wait to just start bouncing shit off you and hearing more about this. Now, the Mothman.
Oh yeah.
Are you so this is like so? Whenever you come into things like this and you start researching things, what happens if do you ever disprove things?
Oh yeah. All the time.
I figure you would, right?
Yeah.
And
North Park, Green Man, all that type of stuff. The good one is the most haunted house in America.
Brownsville?
No, that's another story. Which I do believe not happened. I believe it's him for that particular one. The demon on Brownsville Road.
Yeah.
There's something up with that family. But yeah. So yeah, I think everyone knows. So anyways, I think it was kind of partially manifested by him himself. And the fact that it's so religious based gives me questions right away.
Oh yeah,
what if the ghost is Jewish?
That's what I mean. It's weird.
Oh
my God, that's what I was going to bring up though. As far as whenever if you have things like this and you figure these things out and you have all these times, it's like, how do you even? You're not anyone but just a regular guy. It's like, how do you just with the proof of things? Like you try to display the proof.
Yeah. With beyond a reasonable doubt, here's like the legitimate black and white hard rock evidence. There's no way, unless you could find something which I encourage, I don't want to be the guy that says, I kind of do. Pittsburgh is the birthplace of professional hockey.
Yeah.
I want you to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Nobody's done it. So what does that mean? Until that is done, which I've already proven the guy from Houghton, Michigan, which has been recorded history for 100 years. I'm talking, it's on the literal signs you go into the town.
This is insane.
So a lot of it, and I say it's not me per se, it's the fact that there's these archives have now, these people, whoever these people are, who've scanned
the resources are there now
that's who to thank.
Yeah.
Number one, it's just, it takes like a guy go in there and do the legwork to get it done. But then that's the thing too, is you could see that there's 5-6 years of full daily information on that site. If you really dig into like the photo albums or the videos, 300 videos on there. I have Roberto Clemente's last interview ever given, locker room footage from the 1960 World Series, everything you could possibly imagine. But if it wasn't for, it's kind of like a weird symbiotic relationship where it's like the people are scanning things blindly kind of, and then you go in there and you pick it out.
Yeah. You're the one that's
just find it. And it's kind of like, but that goes with all of, and it's everything. Like in fact, I tried to test myself. I said, I was watching that Food That Made America.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I know that Heinz, obviously is from here and all that type of stuff, but I was like, Coca-Cola. I was like, was it really invented by Pepperton? For real? Has anybody really looked into that? Has anybody really dug into the archives of every single city of where he lived and looked into like everything? I don't know. And so I did. I tried to see if I could disprove Coca-Cola, and it legitimately is true. So there you go. So I did as much as I possibly could to try to disprove it, and I couldn't do it.
What were you trying to disprove?
Anything with this kind of combination of cola and Coke or whatever, kind of make this drink, that this guy purportedly did, who was he, all this type of stuff. So it doesn't have to be Pittsburgh based. It can be about anything in life.
Yeah. Whatever you are interested in.
Period.
You just go from
I can't tell you how much time, I know how to read, because of genealogy, I try to dig into old records, now, because the only way to legitimately do it is to read the handwritten, birth, marriage, and death records of your ancestors. Wow. And when you're talking about 1600s in Europe, everything's either in Latin or ancient cursive Russian,
wow.
or everything's cursive, number one, which is crazy. Horrible. But I've had to teach myself how to read, I can read cursive Polish and Russian and German and French, and I can read Croatian, I can read Italian, I can read it all, and that helps now because it's I've taught myself how to do that.
Yeah. It comes in time.
Yeah, and you do that. I teach my kids. I got 3 kids, and I teach them the same thing. I say I bought a drum set 2 days ago. Yesterday I played the entire Enter Sandman from scratch. It's pretty much sound just like I have a natural musical ability. I've never played the drums my entire life, but I set out to go play that. I wanted to play that song because I knew I could play that song. I played on guitar, I could play it on bass, I could do it, everything else but the drums.
You never played drums?
Never played drums my entire life. So I said, look, I want to do it. So I showed my kids, this is how you do it. And wow. I know from being a professional musician in the past, how to do that.
How old are your kids?
5, 11, and 12.
So you being what you are, you
never get a straight answer. Number one, they get the history behind anything they ask.
That's what I mean. Do you?
I don't hold anything back either.
But can you tell that your kids are, they have
making an impact on them.
Yeah, like it's different.
Yeah. They, I deal into every deep subject there possibly is, and I'm just as well versed in religion or anything you want to throw at me, philosophy.
See, I wanted to jump into that as far as like the.
I was eating a can of Pringles. I'll tell you, I was eating a can of Pringles, and my 12-year-old was asking some weird questions and stuff, and I said, "Look, I'm enjoying from what's in this Pringle can right now, satisfying and stuff." It's like, but there are some people in this world that don't want to look inside the Pringle can. They're just satisfied enough knowing that it's full of Pringles, whether it's full or not. In reality, they're just satisfied with the feeling, the good, happy feeling that unopened can of Pringles has there. That's religion. I was like, not everyone has to do this. I want to know what's inside the Pringle can. And all of a sudden you look in and you find there's nothing. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And so
but it's like you have like this history. It's hard to argue with history and like science. Yeah. And it's just like, I still don't understand that whole thing, but that's a conversation that's,
it is.
A whole different thing. But I have to keep pushing along because we're about to roll 3 hours. Right. So, and I still got probably a half hour asking you questions. So
I didn't even talk about the fact that Jack the Ripper might be from Pittsburgh. Or all these other things too.
I'm 1,000,000% serious whenever I say I want to do a horror-based episode with all this craziness.
Oh yeah, that's good.
So we're a couple months ahead of October. We could definitely bounce some stuff off of each other. But the last thing that I want you to touch on before I get to the ending segment is the plane that went down in the
Ghost Bomber.
I feel like a lot of people don't know about this story. Some people do. I feel like enough people know about a vagueness of this story that it's like, some people are like, that kind of sounds familiar. Can you give me a breakdown of this?
Well, the cool thing about having the social media pages is how widespread the comment section can get.
Yeah.
And what types of things have appeared in there over
You ever get hate in there?
All the time, yeah.
I mean, like, what could people hate?
People get mad that I don't talk enough about, women or...
that's understandable.
And I'm like, trying to, like, you could see, like, how, like, I'm not on purpose trying to, like, look into...
Just men or
I'm just trying to look into history in general.
Yeah, and it's just...
Yeah, like I did
what it is what it is.
Massive African American history in Pittsburgh. I did a podcast with the president of the Hazelwood Historical Society, real good guy, who's trying to just start off himself, doing kind of like what I did, but for Black history in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
no one's ever done it. There is no Black history in Pittsburgh. Like there's little bits of people, like everyone knows who Teenie Harris was, or so on and so forth. Did you know that there was 4 Black men who signed the Declaration creating Allegheny County in 1788? Really? Did you know the richest man in Pittsburgh for 30 years was Benjamin Richards, a Black man?
Holy shit.
Now, do you think that someone going to like maybe like a school where they might not have, a lot of pride in being kind of like Black from Pittsburgh, all of a sudden tells you that not only were Black people in Pittsburgh here from the very beginning, they literally signed the line making Allegheny County a county. And this information and knowledge has been like not shares.
Yeah, I've never heard that in my life.
Teachers don't know about this information,
Yeah.
So it's like there's so much to it. I think a lot of people feel guilty about history.
Yeah.
They feel like this kind of guilt that goes along with every bad thing because there is so much bad stuff that happened in history.
What was this country built on? What was anything built on?
Well, the current war in Ukraine has taught me something, and that is that if you have enough power and resources, you can take whatever you want. And that's essentially what's been going on in all American history, all of history, since the very beginning. I know I'm on my family tree, my dad's side goes back to Poland, right? For 70 years, there was no such thing as Poland on a map. There was prior to that for 1,000 years, but all of a sudden between this section to this section, it was invaded by people from Sweden, a thing called the Swedish Deluge. Or it was taken over by Germany. It was taken over by
never even heard of that.
Lithuania for a long time. It wasn't Poland, it was Lithuania. So it's
like, this is overwhelming to even just like.
I know. And now it's not the teacher's fault or anything. There's just so much to learn.
Yeah, but it's like, imagine back then, teachers, the way that teachers absorbed this knowledge is just like word of mouth through these archaic books. It's like, we didn't have the opportunity that we have now where, you could literally, you don't even need to go to school. You can learn anything you need.
I can do everything I do.
It's wild.
I do it. Well, like back to playing the drums. Like I taught myself by watching YouTube, and I know how to I know rhythm, I can keep time,
Yeah, and you apply it to certain things.
It's just a matter of taking the effort and the time to go in and do it.
You got the tools. It's just what you could build out of the tools. Everyone got the same tools, but it's just how you use them.
Like I learned how to read cursive ancient Polish.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So it's not that hard once you figure it out.
Your kids know how to use cursive? Know how to write in cursive?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I know.
Can't read anything my oldest son writes.
I don't even know if kids even have to hand write stuff anymore.
They shouldn't. I tell you that, because there's 0 point other than trying to be some kind of formal, like uptighty person.
Yeah.
That's literally the reason why everything was written in cursive. You can see like these cultural shifts. Well, number one, people always say that history repeats itself. It doesn't. It rhymes with itself.
Oh, shit.
Always, every day, there's something going on today that happened before that you can look back on for at least some kind of advice. And I look upon all modern day situations like, I'm not getting political by saying this word out loud, but when the election of 2016 was going on, I knew of this mayor in Pittsburgh named Joseph Barker, who was this crazy guy who was thrown in jail for being a crazy street preacher.
What year was this?
1850.
Holy shit.
And he became popular because people liked the fact that he could say whatever he wanted to say in the corner. And it was all against the Catholic Church. It was against like Masons. It was against weird things that you wouldn't think someone would be against.
Damn, you probably know some wild shit about the Freemasons, huh? I don't even want to get into that yet.
Yeah, don't give. I've been into the chambers, So that's all I can say about that. But and I've been to their secret archives, and I've seen things going back to 1500s here in Pittsburgh. But anyways, like they have material from other places that.
I was a Mason. I was a 3rd degree Master Mason. I was.
All right. Well, they
weird
have
shit. But,
they have
like,
all that stuff.
That's what I mean.
All that stuff, all the books. And,
it's strange. Yeah, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. All the books and everything are there. Anyways, they're in McKnight off Cemetery Lane. That's where the official headquarters is. Used to be downtown Pittsburgh. That burned down. They moved everything there. But I've seen it all. It's pretty cool. I've seen aprons going back hundreds of years. So and I'm not even a Mason. So like that's the cool thing. I was able to somehow talk my way into going into like a meeting, number one.
Yeah.
Like just to sit on the wall and watch.
Yeah.
And then I was able to go into the secret archives. So it's actually because the guy who runs that also deals with the Pennsylvania VA administration hospital and had me help him with that. So in turn, he helped me view those records. And that's all I get everything done. Like I get free t-shirts for life, and like, it's all a matter of what do you want to do. That is my problem, is that I don't know kind of what I want to do. I don't know. Like, do I want to have like a podcast of my own? I mean, it's fun, and like I could do it, and people like to hear it. But like, I'd rather be sitting there, till 4 a.m. learning all I can about Gaia Suda. And then my wife, I basically tell my wife everything first, and she just falls asleep.
What does she do for work?
She used to be a manager of a restaurant for like 30 something, like since she was in high school.
So like, poor her, she just has to sit there while you're just regurgitating everything.
Yeah. Well, I remember and I've always been like this though. I've always been, maybe it was because of being like an only child, maybe. But I always I'd always read those factoid books, like the Uncle John's Bathroom Reader.
Yeah.
But instead of like other kids, you just look at it, whatever. I'm like memorize these books, and then I wanted everyone to know.
Yeah, you liked. I was similar, that I like to know these facts to just like spew out and just be like, every
day I'd start. Like I remember in 8th grade, my 8th grade teacher told my mom that I have diarrhea of the mouth.
Yeah,
because I wouldn't stop talking about these stupid facts that mean nothing to anybody other than me.
Yeah,
and luckily Facebook came around to where now other people happen to care about.
You have a place for it.
Yeah. And so that's where it makes it a little bit different. But I follow with that same passion, that same curiosity I had in 8th grade, that same kind of vast, I'm like Johnny number 5. Like it just can't be, I need input like tonight, after I go back home, here's what I'm going to do tonight. Number one, I don't really know where the road's going to take me. Okay. It could be about whatever. Like yesterday I spent 6 hours doing nothing but searching for 3 specific words in Pittsburgh newspapers. That was found skeleton, skeleton found, and then, well, actually, I searched for more. Burial mound, Indian skeleton, skeleton, Indian skeleton.
I mean, do you make a list of topics that you need to research? Like, do you keep a notebook?
On that one, I started keeping notes because there's so much to remember. Like, as soon as I write it down, it becomes permanent in my head.
Yeah.
Like same with genealogy. I could tell you, like if I did your genealogy, I'd be able, for the rest of my life probably, be able to tell you who like your great aunt was. Someone who you never met, you never pay attention to. I'd probably remember when they were born, when they died, where they lived, what they did for a living, like immaterial stuff that doesn't mean anything to anybody. It just so happens that I can apply that knowledge to Pittsburgh history in a good day.
Yeah.
Other time it's all applied to stuff that I'm just curious about. Like I just want to know whatever. I put the same amount of passion into that. I like playing the drums. I want to know how, so I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to go do it and do it.
Well, let me, I feel like that you're like a wild stallion that just needs kind of like, broken a little bit to just keep their, now let me,
I'm all over the place.
I know, I'm going to redirect you around.
Right.
The plane.
Yeah.
B-52.
Yes. Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. We're back.
It's actually a B25. It's not a B-52. That's not for starters. Okay. I got to always remember that because I always think of the B-52s. But it was a B-25 bomber en route from Dulles Air Force Base. And it was a final mission was supposed to be, I can't remember where it was supposed to land, but it was somewhere unusual to begin with. And it was a military plane filled with 6 passengers and possibly more. So now,
how big is that plane?
It was, I can't remember, it was 4 engines plane and big enough that maybe could fit like 8 people plus cargo.
Okay. Yeah.
It took off, refueled somewhere, and I went heavy deep into this.
I bet you did.
I mean, I even went so far as maybe even rent snorkel material to like dive in because I think I know where it might be.
Wow.
Which is not at the bottom of the ocean or the bottom of the river, by the way. But I did wonder, like, I at least got to know for myself if it's there and stick my head under the water and look.
You did that?
Well, yeah, and then I know people who were part of the team.
He said, "Well, yeah, like you're supposed to, like that's supposed to be common."
Yeah. So I've done some pretty crazy stuff. I mean, I've gone looking for.
So what was this plane? What was this plane coming here for, or coming over for?
Nobody knows. That's what makes it mysterious. It was the fact that not only did it crash, now planes have crashed in the river multiple times. There was a plane that crashed. There's 3 planes that crashed there within a few months of each other. That nobody talks about the other 2 planes because I don't think anyone knew until like I start looking into these things and. All of a sudden, you find there's
in
other
Pittsburgh?
Planes in that almost the same spot.
Holy shit!
I found one, and they said that it was no, it wasn't. They weren't related to each other. It just happened to be a weird coincidence.
Sure, they weren't.
All right, but the on this plane, well, number one, it out of nowhere, they sent out a signal that they're going to crash land. They ran out of gas, so the engine stopped working, and they're approaching downtown Pittsburgh. So where do you land a plane downtown Pittsburgh? You could land it into some kind of empty field somewhere. People did in the past before Pittsburgh Airport was here. They landed in Fox Chapel. There was an airport in Fox Chapel.
Probably safer in the water, though.
Amelia Earhart landed her plane at where Fox Chapel High School is today. That was
really?
Yeah. So she actually crash landed her plane there. She went off the fairway and like flipped her plane. One of the wheels got caught in a ditch or whatever. She almost died right there.
Jeez.
I can't even tell you about aviation history, man, because wait until you see about this woman named Helen Ritchie. That's always
Helen Ritchie. I grew up in McKeesport.
Okay, well,
Helen Ritchie Field.
I should have brought. I don't have it. Maybe with me. Do I have it with me? I do. Look who signed that postcard, and look where.
Holy shit!
There's 2 of them, by the way. I have owned 2 of them, and that was actually flown by Helen Ritchie on the commercial airplane,
June 22nd, 1930.
Yeah, she got her pilot's license as the very first female pilot in Allegheny County. Period. She was also the first woman to ever have a commercial airline license ever in American history.
Holy, this is the actual thing that's
2 pieces. There's 2 pieces of airmail that was flown by her. Yeah.
Where do you get this? eBay?
That I got from some guy who knew her in McKeesport. I became obsessed with Helen Ritchie. I don't know why. Like that's what happens. Like certain people, certain things just hit me. And like I saw, like I knew a tiny bit about her. I knew her name. Maybe,
what's the dude's last name? Can you tell me?
This was all from, her name was, it was from the Helen Ritchie family. I'm trying to think. It wasn't the Ball family, which they're related. I'm trying to think of her name now. But
Reed?
It might have been, yeah.
Well, it says it on here, Mr. L. Reed.
Okay, yeah. I guess it would be, yeah. Yeah, Reed.
But this says Bethlehem.
Yeah, you'll see that. And then McKeesport themselves.
And then also, George Angers.
George Angers was a very famous aviation historian.
This is insane.
Insane, yeah. I do have
Holy shit!
I think it's
Wait,
right,
so no, we can't get off. We can't get off the beaten path.
Anyways, B25 somehow loses control. It starts heading towards Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
What do you do? Plane did hit, for example, the Exposition Building one time. Some planes have hit buildings downtown other times. But you had to figure out where to go. And it was by the Homestead high-level bridge. They decided they're going to crash land there. That's where they're going to land the plane, in the middle of the river. It might be the safest way. Unfortunately for them, as soon as it hit the water, it just broke apart. Everybody got out and tried to swim to shore. 4 of them didn't make it. But people did survive and were rescued on the shoreline. And people were like, what happened? And they told them what happened. They said, the plane came crashing down. So they can't get Charlie out of the water or whatever. They did end up tracking all the people who died from the actual plane crash later on. And they're all have been recovered. However, they claim, the story goes, the rumors, there's a couple rumors. One is that, the obvious is that after these people recovered in the hospital, they were apparently visited by people from the U.S. government out of, they had to because they were from the government,
Yeah.
And essentially just told never to talk about it again.
Yeah, because something weird was going on with that flight anyway.
They, as far as anyone can tell, was when you land a plane in a river, usually it either keeps on going down the river or it sinks. One of the two things.
But it's never been found.
Never been found. Now,
and people have looked for it?
Hundreds of people look for it. They even had boats and crews. There's a website.
There got to be sonar. There got to be sonar to do that.
They found an area near there where there's a level of the Monongahela River where it goes down all of a sudden, it drops down into a big, vast, area.
Is there conspiracies of what was happening on that flight?
Yes. So what happened? Some claim that it was there was someone on board that didn't want people to know was on board. Number one. Some people believe it was an alien on board.
No shit.
Legitimately. Some people, in the most realistic.
Wait. Who are these people that believe this?
It's pretty general knowledge. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. If you look into this, you'll see that they, because of the flight patterns and where they were coming and going.
But
they were carrying something.
But who believes that it was an alien? Where does it?
Someone who's super gullible, probably.
Oh, okay.
But it's not true.
But you're saying that, I thought you meant some. I get what you're saying.
They legitimately at the time, and if you were just YouTube B25 Bomber Pittsburgh or something, you will see the stuff tied to the aliens.
I feel like this is bad for me because I'm going to be.
Well, that's the thing. That's what happens. It's you get into one thing, and then it takes you down this whole route that opens up so much else.
I can't even imagine what you're like after a couple pots of coffee. And, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I drink nothing but Red Bull pretty much all day.
I could tell.
Smoke a ton. So all day long, first thing I do all day long. So and that I think does contribute to why I'm so interested in so much.
Wow.
Stuff.
Are you a big conspiracy theorist as far as
Not really.
Okay. Yeah. Cause
it depends.
It's weird because I don't get that reptilian QAnon type of conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
I'm not saying political figure, but I'm talking about just completely out there.
Yeah. Well,
you seem like a person that just pushes a little bit further than what you get to know, because it's you don't expect, no one ever knows that that's there until you push a little bit further.
Kind of like a good way
Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Yes, I'm an ordained minister in the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, or the FSM. Now, I actually married somebody, believe it or not, as the pastor.
I've done that before.
Of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
That's
Church.
Wild, though.
So do you know what this is?
No.
It was a religion invented, by a man named Bobby Samuelson, I think is his name, who was invented as a joke, kind of, to show you that you could put anything in a book.
Yeah.
And get somebody to be an ordained minister.
To it.
Get someone to subscribe to it. And I do it on purpose to try to disprove.
Yeah.
And say number one, I am a very adamant, either you have everybody praying to every God ever existed or none at all.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it.
And I have and I do see the viewpoints of all sides.
I try to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I take it all in. I was raised a Catholic, but
same,
who is to say that the Catholic Church could say that their God is above people that are literally murdering family?
It gets so much deeper.
That's what I mean. But just the concept of that before you go deeper.
Oh, yeah.
It's why is that one over any of the other ones?
Well,
and it's insane.
Like you said, it's because they were the victors. They literally would murder you if they didn't. If you said you'd believed in something else.
Holy shit! Full circle
for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Wait, listen to me.
And they kept you purposely not knowing what was in the book, unless you could learn English. But who's going to teach you English? Because they were not allowed, learn how to read and write. And I'm talking genealogy wise. There's ancestors going into the 1850s, the 1800s, late Civil War period. Can't read or write. How are they? Do you think they were really that intelligent that know right from, if there's, whatever that presented to them? They didn't even have the opportunity to counter that possibility because the information just simply was not allowed to be seen, or they couldn't read it when they were given it. So that's all messed up, organized religion is. But I know that I look at Pittsburgh history as a starting off point for anything. Yeah. You want to talk. It doesn't matter what historical event in American history, you could point to Pittsburgh and say okay, well, how did Pittsburgh deal with this?
Apply to it. Yeah.
And like I said, this is 250 million years old minimum.
That's the only thing that you've ever told me tonight that I feel skeptical that's 250 million. But that's fine. I get it.
Yes.
But it's just it's just weird for me to conceptualize that in my hand.
Regardless, Native Americans that meadow crop.
It's weird.
15,000 years ago. Do you think they were playing? What book were they reading?
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
There was no book.
I can't even get into it because it gets crazy. Sidebar: the 250 million artifact that you got there. That right there in my hand, I get nothing but that Helen Richie card. I don't know why, but it feels crazy to even see that.
You ready? This has nothing to do with Pittsburgh other than the fact that somebody from Pittsburgh gave this to me because they were there.
Yeah.
It's an unused ticket to Woodstock.
No shit.
Yeah. That's the same one that Geraldo on live TV ripped apart back that one time.
Wow.
That's the real deal.
$8.
Yeah. But
now you have to go back to the plane and finish.
Yeah. So anyways, some people believe, and most likely the case, what I believe at least, from everything I've researched. Number one, it definitely is not in the river.
Why do you believe that?
The river at one point, at the deepest, is 9 feet. So it was a struggle to even get it to be 9 feet deep. Most of the time in early Pittsburgh history, you get stuck in the river if you were on the left-hand side or the right-hand side because it was that shallow.
Yeah.
So
even nowadays, if you're in the middle of the river, some places you'll get to maybe 15, 20 feet.
Right. Just at that, and that's the most.
Yeah.
Now, there are accounts in some early Pittsburgh histories of this place called the Devil's Pit, which I've always been interested in trying to find out where it is. But they claim somewhere along the Allegheny River, there's an area that is so deep, unnaturally deep, not 15 feet, but something like 100 feet deep, that French and all these other people have thrown all their trash in back in the day, and stuff's still there.
That's bullshit.
Cannons.
That got to be bullshit.
And all that. Well, so I looked into it with that guy from Duquesne. We looked into trying to find out, and there are records of the French doing and throwing things in this one part of the river. Whether that has a super deep pit, I don't know. The general theory, if it is the B25, is in the river, they say that most likely it's fallen down one of these open patches, which goes a little deeper than 15 feet.
But it's
you'd think you find at least one thing from it.
It's not even that
piece.
If you would find, someone would have documented a anomaly of a deep hole, especially, where they would, who would do it before anyone is fishermen.
Well,
because that,
you think they would, but the bottom of the rivers, it's uncharted territory.
Yeah, but
there's hundreds of cars down there, for example.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is the depth of it. The depth would be noted.
Should be noticed. You're right.
Because, you have fish finders now that literally have sonar where you could see fish flying.
I'll tell you what, the last expedition to do that was something like in 1998. Technology since have obviously improved.
Damn, we should do that.
I tell you, that's all you got to do, man. You just got to find someone with a boat. Somebody's got the technology and say, let's go do it. If you find it, we'll clean it together.
What area is this? Is Devil's?
I know the exact point where it should be. Now, the B25. Now, they rumored that it did float down the river for a brief time and then it settled somewhere kind of and disintegrated. The problem is the river's so filthy.
Yeah,
it's so filled.
It could be covered with
material.
soot and
it could
all
have
that trash.
Legitimately just disintegrated.
Yeah,
beyond that. But where that story got weird is that not just one guy or two guys, but a lot of people, legitimate people, other than just truck drivers. Because you get a lot of these stories of my dad was a truck driver and he was driving on the road and he saw the people digging it out of the river and pulled it out to the side and they saw what was inside there and they saw it being carted off in trucks in the middle of the night and all that. From what I can tell, that is what really happened.
someone found it and took it.
Not just someone, the U.S. government came in and took it and purposely in the middle of the night dragged it out, removed all the plane, all the materials, shipped it on a train car. And I know this because I have confirmed evidence of where it ended up, at least for a brief time period before it moved on somewhere else.
Is this secretive? You don't tell people this?
Well, no, that I actually do have to look up, but I do know I have that information.
The coordinates of it.
I do know exactly where it was taken prior to
About where? About where?
It was somewhere by the airport. Yeah, it was somewhere out here by the airport.
No, I'm talking about where was the plane taken out of?
Oh, the river. Yeah, it legitimately landed in the river. And
at what point? Around where?
They say within hours of it occurring.
No. I'm talking about area
from Homestead onward downwards.
Oh, okay.
The Homestead High Level Bridge, which is
that's probably the biggest landmark where that you would be.
Yeah, wow. That's where it touched. That's where confirmed. That's where it's hit. Somewhere from there downward, not that far. They say.
Yeah, it can't be that far.
Is where it was taken.
Holy shit!
I have enough. Not only every time I post a story on Facebook, that's the cool thing about social media is that you have people who are legitimately 100 years old.
Yeah.
Who are on my pages.
Yeah.
90-year-old ladies. Yeah. I'm a very popular in old age.
And they hear stuff about it.
Some of them were there.
Yeah.
And some of them were. I talked to this lady who saw this boat called the Island Queen, which exploded downtown, killed 40 people downtown Pittsburgh. Blew out all the buildings on Boulevard of the Ally.
Shit.
It was a major event.
When was that?
1947. There's photographs of it and multiple photographs of what happened. Everyone blown up, the pieces. This lady was like, I was there. I was 15 years old, because she was ancient, So you get that. But I've had enough people over the years that it's not just loonies coming out of the work. We're saying my uncle says he saw this guy do that or whatever.
Yeah.
This is legitimate, what seems to be followed up by backing evidence of the follow up and what happened after that. So and why it gets suspicious.
It's weird because you say that at one point it's believed that there would be an alien in there.
Yeah. They say it was coming from Area 51.
It's crazy because it's now, they're literally just there are aliens and UFOs and people are just what? And it's all just politics. Oh, yeah. Will Smith slapped,
Oh, yeah.
But people were there's, the military is these are UFOs.
Yes,
and everyone's what did you say? And you're just this is insane to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I brought that up before that it's maddening that there's not more just some scuttlebutt about what's going on with aliens because they're literally just this is legit.
Yeah.
But
you had you have different types of ways to look at that. One is no one's ever found an alien body to unless you count the 1990s autopsy, autopsy videos, which were creepy and awesome. But when maybe they disintegrate like Bigfoot or something. That's why no one's ever found a Bigfoot, laying around in the woods. Right? Because maybe when it dies, it disintegrates into pieces. That sounds like a pretty good excuse, though, too.
Does it? Makes no sense at all.
Well, you could apply that towards anything ever written prior that you just have to take because I don't want to look in that Pringles can. I'd rather just be satisfied knowing that it's filled to the top.
I understand that, and I love to entertain that sort of thought process. Right. But then I try to think of. I always am trying to be the devil's advocate.
Right.
I always want to see the flip of the coin. But any sort of creature that dies, there's nothing documented now that just disintegrates.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So realistically,
people do disintegrate. I've had a few legitimate cases of human spontaneous combustion that's been in Pittsburgh history. But
what?
Keep going, yeah.
Oh my! This has to be on October. We're going to note this for October.
Yeah.
But it's
I see where you're going.
You know what I mean? It's but we're also we have so much. We have so much technology and things are so advanced now. It's how isn't there proof?
Well, unfortunately, is the best way to put it, that word.
Probably the same way that we don't have a surveillance camera from the Georgia Stones that is, we have 4K on everything, but then you can only see this blur.
Yeah. Well, you ever seen the movie Contact?
Yeah.
Written by Carl Sagan's my idol. For sure.
I could tell.
Stanley Kubrick, but then Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
he's on my top 3. I have a great shirt. It says Hail Sagan, But anyways, I learned most in George Carlin. He was my third guy. Anyways.
I love that.
Because now I started listening to George Carlin when I was 10.
Well, that's good.
And that made me think differently than the other kids. I thought to question everything.
Yeah.
Because of him. Carl Sagan gave me the ways to not only question everything, but to try to find the answer.
Yeah.
And which, Carlin's just talking about it. Carl Sagan wants to know. What did he have to say, about that situations and about faith and why I bring up contact? And remember the conversation that Matthew McConaughey has with Jodie Foster.
I would lie to you, but I saw it in the 90s. I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I don't remember any of it.
I don't think anyone else would know what Matthew McConaughey said to Jodie Foster in this movie because it's so random and rare. But he talks specifically, and it's in the book Contact, which is a great book to read. But about the power of faith and about power, because what happens is she goes through that machine that apparently takes her off to some star system. She's the only one that witnesses it and experiences it. And she has to go submit to Congress that explain all this stuff that happened, and she can't explain it because there's no proof. There's nothing left. They didn't give her anything to take back home and say, hey, this is from this your alien ancestor or whatever. Like there's nothing. So we have to believe you instead of like how do we believe you? Because belief versus truth, and that's what that movie's about, and about aliens, and it all ties it together because she becomes friends with Matthew McConaughey, who's a priest, who says the same, that she questions God and all this stuff. And he says the same thing to her,
Wow.
Getting early in the movie. Says,
I got to watch it again.
Yeah. And she realizes kind of like the flip side of that when it happens scientifically. So what I'm trying to say to you is until there's, I get picked up by some guy, and I love for it to be real. I love for the fact that there was legitimate Ghostbusters, and I want to believe.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. And that's why I'm like, me and my wife go to
I want to believe
in,
Noah. I want to believe in, the story of David. I want to believe in all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's no proof.
Yeah.
So I can't believe it. In other words, until you can prove it, they're 100%, 100%. You can't even.
Now, let me ask you this.
Proof, There's probably more proof that there's aliens.
Let me ask you. That's true.
Some of the other stuff.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you entertain the idea of Santa Claus?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, I can tell you.
I would have either thought it could either been yes or no. You would have been like,
No, okay. Christmas is totally different. Okay. I've had Santa Claus on my show on the Pittsburgh Oddcast.
I did too.
Yeah. Okay. So now that guy, he approached me years ago, and I got to go to his house, Santa's workshop in South Hills. And I'm talking to this guy. It was like August. His house is decorated to the brim with Christmas stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like the 2:00 p.m. or whatever, and like cuckoo clocks are going off, Christmas music, and like,
oh yeah,
everything's around. He's got paintings all over the wall of him, as Santa. And like, it's gone to him, and he's an interesting guy. And he has a big backstory, which he didn't even share with me, but I later found out about him, which makes it even more incredible. But what I found out is what is the true meaning of Christmas. And that's what I found out in that episode with Santa Claus, is that like the tulpa, the boogeyman, any other kind of mythological thing, it is what you believe. But however, with Santa Claus, there are certain people out there, myself included, and Santa John and others, who have this kind of feeling, of wanting to give, dude, and not expecting anything in return.
I 100% agree. I get what you're saying. Right. I really, really do.
And I had a legit experience like that where I became like Santa Claus to some random stranger. I was in Los Angeles. And at that time, I was completely dependent upon my parents for money.
Yeah.
I had nothing. And I was supposed to be coming back to Pittsburgh for a visit for Christmas or whatever. But I, at that time, had like $20 to my name. Like I had no more than just a $20 in my hand. Then nothing in my bank. Negative probably in my bank. And just that physical cash. And some homeless guy came up to me randomly when I was walking home from school one day.
Yeah.
Looking for money or whatever. And it was close to Christmas. And I said, you know what, dude? I was like, here, just take the $20.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. You thought I was like a guardian angel or something like this."
Yeah.
And I was happy. It was weird because like you feel like I'd be broke. I'd be like, "Well, shit, how am I going to eat?"
Yeah, it's almost. It's like,
but it filled me with a different type of
feeling, and it's almost
the magic of Christmas, man.
It almost becomes like an addictive feeling.
It is,
but you don't want it to come off in that way because I would never be. There's nothing that makes me cringe more than the person that like got to do it but shoves a phone in your face like that while they're doing it. Mm-hmm. It's like I don't do shit like that at all. I just but I know that I'm thoughtful and I understand when things are meaningful to a certain degree, but
it's Santa's and not only that feeling of the magic of Christmas and whatever you want to call that, which you could call it Santa Claus, Father Christmas, whatever that bug that gets you, and it gets everybody. Like there's a great guy named Joseph Gusky who was the Jewish Santa Claus here in Pittsburgh. He gave endless amounts until the day he died to all the children of Pittsburgh, literally like with teams of horses and presents, overfilling bags, and gave it away all for free, just because he wanted to. He's Jewish. It's not even, but he would dress up like Santa and just go out and just for the thrill of it, and it does take a unique individual to sit there, like Santa John does.
Oh yeah.
And like legit go through like what you have to go through to be a Santa Claus.
Is this dude, the guy that is he like a mall Santa?
He's the Santa for Pittsburgh. So he's like,
what does that mean?
He's the Santa down in Market Square. He's the Santa at the parades. He's the Santa, like he pulls the tree lighting ceremony and stuff every year.
Oh, wow.
He's that guy.
That's the Santa.
I found a photo of him. This guy. Yeah. The Santa.
Yeah.
I found a photo of him from like he's only been doing Santa since like maybe the 2000s. Maybe it was when he first started. But I found a photo of him working at the city county building, which is where he works. He's always worked there since he was 20 years old.
Yeah.
The photo of him from behind, and it mentions his name, and it says that he was decorating for Christmas, and it was like this photo taken far away 30 years before he would become a Santa Claus, just like by himself, lonely on top of this ladder, like hanging up all the wreaths, especially like
no way.
Like even back then.
Dude, that's just epic.
Dude, as soon as I saw that photo, I was like, oh my God, this guy is Santa Claus. But then, like he said to me, and like I said to him, anybody could be Santa Claus. Santa Claus is an idea. Santa Claus is not necessarily, it's an idea that you could be tapped into and you could be Santa.
Dude, you need to, you need to listen to the episode with my Santa too.
Yeah.
It's like epic, but like, that's like kind of, I don't know. That's what like, I don't know. I'm at full circle. I'm Santa now for my families.
Right.
And I do it all.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm growing this.
Man.
I'm growing this beautiful beard to have a natural one this year.
Yeah.
Because last year it sucked.
Right.
It's going well, but I get what you're saying. And I love that because like, I love the facts and I love what it is, but I'm also like curious enough to question everything.
Well, yeah. I mean, like,
I feel like it's so important too.
It is. I mean, just for religion, it's like, I'm not going to tell my kids not to believe in whatever they want.
Oh, 100%.
I am going to give them the access to all available knowledge, which wasn't done for me.
That's what it is.
Their parents or their parents.
I know it's crazy if you think about it compared to like what it is now compared to what it was. But that's what I want to do. I want to present everyone with with everything and just let them decide.
Yeah.
I'm open to, anything, like whatever. It's cool. But, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I can go on all day.
I know. I have to push this to the ending segment. So, I mean, I think that this is the longest one that I've done.
Oh, wow.
And like, this is, I really wholeheartedly feel like we could talk for 8 more hours.
I didn't even open up the book.
I know. And like, this is insane to me. We're going to talk after this because I have some ideas already brewing, but the ending segment that I do with everyone in this podcast is a segment called Desert Island Questions.
Okay.
So Desert Island Questions, whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category, 3 movies to take on a desert island. So you get a DVD player and you only get 3 DVDs for the rest of your life.
3 DVDs and that's it. Ghostbusters, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and Rhapsody in Blue, which is a movie from 1945.
Rhapsody in Blue, I've never heard of that.
Alan Alda's father, Robert Alda, and a guy from Pittsburgh named Oscar Levant, who was actually friends with George Gershwin. And it's a story of George Gershwin's life. And it follows him from a child and growing up in Brooklyn, New York, and being the first like American composer.
Wow.
And I became obsessed with that movie when I was a kid, and I've watched it hundreds of times. It was along with Ghostbusters and Bill and Ted. I had a tape that in fact had Ghostbusters and Bill and Ted on it, and Christmas Vacation. And I'd watched it so much that the VHS just fell apart. And that was before the advent of DVDs and everything. But yeah, the Rhapsody in Blue is a really good one. It's kind of like if I had to pick one, that is definitely one that I'd want to keep there. But then, of course, Ghostbusters. And
I'm going to have to
It is a toss-up between Back to the Future and Bill and Ted. But
Back to the Future is a perfect film.
Bill and Ted is the perfect time travel movie.
Yeah, it's a great one. I haven't watched the new one yet.
Oh, it's epic.
The new one is good?
It's so good. It's so good.
I'll probably have to watch it now. Okay,
if you're a fan, it's good. If you're not a fan, I don't know.
The second category, if you could tell people, because someone asked, what are the best books to read about crazy shit that's happened in the city? If you could pick 3 of them, do you have a couple that are off your mind?
There are plenty of good ones. A really good one to start with, just to get like a general overview of like weird things in Pittsburgh. It's called Only in Pittsburgh. It was a book written in the 1970s. You can get it on Amazon used or on eBay now by a guy named S. Trevor Hadley. It's that first book. And I've used some of the stories that he has in there for complete episodes of my Oddcast. Like I did one about the clock watcher of Allegheny City, a guy who would just like always be looking at the clock, telling everybody what time it was. Meanwhile, the clock hasn't been working like in 17 years.
Holy
it's like
shit.
Stories like that. You find it like cool, weird tidbits. The other thing is now, luckily for all of us, most of all things prior to 1930, let's say, have been scanned and are uploaded either through archives.org or on University of Pittsburgh's website, or a couple of different other Google books, for example. And by searching for Pittsburgh history from 1840 to like 1880s, any book from that time period is going to give you a pretty comprehensive history of weird and unusual facts and legitimate history of Pittsburgh. That my favorite book about Pittsburgh history is that one from 1849.
Wow.
It was written like it was written yesterday, like the guy's talking like me and you, but it's like written in 1849.
Really? Yeah. It wasn't just like updated? That's just how it was?
Yeah, and it's so like well written, you kind of like really...
Man, what's it called again?
The History of Pittsburgh by Neville Craig.
Neville Craig.
Neville Craig. Craig, his family, like Sarah Craig, was Sarah Street's named after. East Carson Street. Carson's named after his family. Craig Street, of course. Rebecca Street. Those were all his family. Mount Oliver is named after Oliver, one of his brothers. Like all that named after that family.
Jeez.
That's a good one. The other, Only in Pittsburgh by S. Trevor Hadley, which is going to be hard to find, but you can find it. The History of Pittsburgh, you can find online copies, so you don't have to go search for the 1849 one. But if you do, get it, so it doesn't just end up in some book heap somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
It's not that expensive. You can get them fairly cheap. It is cool to hold it in your hand, too, like one that was written in 1849, like first edition. The other thing, the other books about, anything written by that guy that I talked about from Duquesne, he's written...
what's his name?
Tom White.
Tom White.
He's written a literal book called The Unusual Tales of Western Pennsylvania.
Oh, I think
Witches of Pennsylvania.
My mother-in-law has The Unusual.
Yeah, all that stuff. I'm in all the books. Like I've contributed to all those books. Man, little stories here and there. Like I helped them with the haunting of the Evergreen Hotel, or strange tales about a witch. I found like some legitimate cases of witches and witchcraft.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that in October. We have to touch on witchcraft,
voodoo.
Absolutely, I want to know about all that.
But his books are, if you had to go to book to pick for like unusual Pittsburgh facts, his books are definitely going to be the way to go.
Okay,
but
Tom White,
earliest history of Pittsburgh books available for free online. That Only in Pittsburgh book, which is like just a collection of great stories.
And then the History of Pittsburgh by Neville Craig.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the first edition. I'm definitely
you can do it.
One.
Yeah, I've actually touched at the Carnegie Library. They have Neville Craig's like edition, like printed in like pig skin or whatever.
No way.
It's like the real deal.
How much is the first edition?
I got mine. I have 2 of them. I have 2 first editions. One is like missing, like covers all like broken and stuff, and I got that one for like $50.
Oh, that's
it.
And
the other one I got like for maybe $200 something because it was like in
pristine
condition.
Yeah, wow.
But it contains like an old map. Like the maps themselves could be like ripped out.
Do you got a crazy? Do you got like a crazy collection of shit?
Oh, you have no idea.
What's like the most? I want to know what's like the most. Like
other than that William Pitt thing, that coat of arms, which is crazy. I have an original 1795 map of Pittsburgh. Now, that map has a provenance as well, which luckily someone wrote down on the back, but only up until 1913.
Where did you get this?
I got it at a private auction in Georgia.
Private auction?
Yeah, somebody was selling this, like all this, unique, not Pittsburgh related.
What's a map cost?
Well, it depends on, number one, if the person selling it knows anything about it or knows how rare it is.
You get it for a deal?
Yeah, so that map, now I did pay something like $200 something for it.
That's all right.
But
I didn't know if you were going to be like, I spent like $7,000 on it.
I think it might be the only one from 1795.
Holy shit.
Now there's copies of it. Like I have
You have it like framed in.
It's in the original frame. So like, and it has written on the back, it ended up in a law office down in Allegheny City. This guy named John Emery, who was like a big major lawyer here in Pittsburgh, and it hung in his office. And it came from his family, which were a family called the Morrison family.
Wow.
And it got passed down through his family because his grandfather, like his regular grandfather, not great or whatever, his grandfather was a guy named John Morrison, and he was the mayor of Allegheny City. And that map sat in the Allegheny City's like district office on the wall.
Holy shit.
That was the map that they represented themselves in the 1700s.
That's insane.
It's pretty crazy. That same guy, John Morrison, was present when Abraham Lincoln came to town. He only came here once on Valentine's Day, 1860, or 61, I think. But he was the guy that met Lincoln at the train station and everything.
Jeez.
Apparently, one of his kids who was there, who ended up having this map later in life, but one of those little girls, according to the newspapers and the first-hand accounts, say that Lincoln came like bent down to her and she screamed.
Jeez.
At him, but then because he was so big.
Yeah, he's probably creepy as hell looking.
So that's one of them.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Wild character.
But yeah, that 1795 map of Pittsburgh. I have original blueprints of a lot of cool buildings downtown, which are, really, really rare.
That's sick.
I have a blueprint for the jail that was supposed to be there before this jail.
Oh my God. You know what? I literally was going to plan on talking about the jail over by Bicycle Heaven.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I was riding my bike there the one day and I just never knew that was there. And I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
We'll get to that in October that we got to. Third category.
Okay.
Third category is 3 CDs. You get a CD player, 3 CDs. Yeah. That's it.
Oh, for sure. Well, Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. They're number 1. Okay. Like this first album.
Yeah.
With War Pigs and all that on it.
Oh, you already know. I got it right there. The vinyl.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Real nice.
Oh yeah. There you go. All right. Okay. Queen. But I would choose News of the World.
Okay.
And not Night of the Opera or Bohemian Rhapsody's on it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And even though I'm a huge fan, like I know everything they did when they were just called Smile. I know everything Black Sabbath did when they were called Earth.
Wow.
I know a lot about
you
just as much.
Anything you like, you can't beat. You want to know everything.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't beat me in one-hit wonder trivia.
I bet.
Like, look out. I know everything there is to know about every 80s new one-hit wonder. Like, I could tell you the history behind Turning Japanese. Like, I know just as much as I know about Pittsburgh history that I know about that stuff like that. I can tell you about Dexy's Midnight Runners. I can tell you everything about the band.
You could tell me everything about Jackal, about Toto Africa.
I was even going to say something, but that a lot of these people's bands, a lot of members are from Pittsburgh, including Jackal.
What?
Yes. And I didn't know there's like a 38 Special, like the
Lumberjack baby
from Pittsburgh. Like there's so many. It's not even, it's only the tip of the iceberg, man.
Well, maybe we'll do an episode just about musicians and music people from Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh music history is really good. So anyways, I'd have Queen, News of the World, Black Sabbath, and then I'd have, oh man, I like so much music. It's not even funny, but I don't even know if I could pick a third one. My taste changed so dramatically every single week.
What's the last thing you
currently?
Listen to?
I'm obsessed with 311.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know every lyric, every album.
It's been a while since I listened
even talked to them during COVID and stuff. Like I made it a habit of listening to 311 every single day.
Wow,
all day long. Every day.
It's a wild ode to live up to.
You'd think it'd be weird, right? Because I'm doing all this.
It's probably great. It's probably great.
I don't know what it was, but something about like the positivity in the music, I guess, kind of pushed me forward. And I got the opportunity to talk to the band. I told them that was cool. They were pretty cool with it and stuff. But I am going to see it. They're coming to Pittsburgh to McKee's Rocks.
No way.
Show McKee's Rocks. So, anyways,
wow.
So at the moment, I'd put 311 on the mix.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. Third to last question is the death row meal. So, death row meal, last meal before you get put to death, you get a appetizer, main course, dessert.
Oh, this is easy. Appetizer would be mozzarella sticks.
It's weird how many people pick mozzarella sticks as an appetizer.
It's my go-to appetizer.
Yeah, it's great. They really are.
My meal, 100% would be specifically Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Still a hitter.
Still, to this day.
Still a hitter.
Dessert would be something involving Reese's peanut butter cups.
Okay.
Peanut butter pie. Something like peanut butter related. Mac and cheese. You don't even know how weird I am, speaking of which, my diet. Like, I've never had a salad my entire life. I don't eat fruit.
What?
I've never had vegetables. If I make spaghetti sauce, I'll use tomatoes. I'll use tomato sauce. But
wait, are you one of these dudes who just eats like a microwavable French fries and nuggets?
I am.
No way.
Yeah,
are you real picky about your food?
I'm a kind of selective eating disorder. Yeah, like I could eat mac and cheese every day of my life and be happy. Now I almost feel like it's animalistic. Like I have so much going on in my mind.
Yeah, that you just don't really care. You're just like,
don't matter to me.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, so like I just eat just to feel full and then move on. I mean, I love a good meal. But it's not.
You're not
my
someone
priority.
that needs it.
Yeah, same with like just everything in life. I just don't like sleep. Everything going from sleep to anything.
Sleep when you're dead.
I'm a difficult person to live with, for sure. Like I know that.
I mean, it's probably it's probably a blessing and a curse. You're probably like a mad scientist for sure. I get that vibe.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I can't stop. That's like the only thing that's gonna stop is when I stop. But that's it. Like I feel like who knows? That's the thing. Like it's so unpredictable. What
do you do? Do you do anything like do you ever turn your brain off? Like, what do you do for your mental health?
Well, play guitar. I was in a heavy metal band for a while. I did
nice.
Played music, piano. I'll play.
You still play all the time?
I try to play every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I started doing, and I write music. I've written 600, 700 rock songs just this last 2 years.
Yeah.
And I know that's the problem is that like I don't know what to do with everything. So like I could write you down a book of rock. I mean, you could turn on the radio. I know these songs would be hits if someone would just write them.
You need a manager.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, you need something.
I had a couple people reach out because like I said, I don't.
I'm not even talking about professional manager. You need
life manager,
you need to buy a deprivation tank and develop your own manager in your head.
Yeah, I used to just like at night I only watch one thing. I stopped. This is all really last 2 years during COVID times, but I stopped watching movies, and even though it's weird because I went to film school, like I'm obsessed with movies. I can tell you everything.
You don't watch like all the shows and everything that are out?
Nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy
Nothing.
to me.
The only thing I watch on TV, other than I'll watch like the nightly news maybe every once in a while, but other than that, it's how it's made on Discovery Channel.
So you don't watch
you
don't watch like any of these crazy series or anything like that?
None.
Man,
I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones, unfortunately.
Me either.
Yeah. No, I've seen every episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That's fine. Yeah. I can understand that.
Certain things. I mean, I will watch like reruns of Seinfeld or something like that.
Never watch like Breaking Bad or nothing like that?
No.
Oh, that's awesome. Fascinating.
Yeah. But
what's the last movie you saw in a movie theater?
Well, that I saw the new Minions movie, so I did see that one. But I did go see the new Batman.
Oh, was that good?
Like I wanted to go see it.
Yeah. You see Top Gun?
Awesome. No, I didn't see Top Gun. No.
I was never a Top Gun stan, but after hearing so much about it, I went to see it. Insane.
I can appreciate Tom Cruise's like ability to want to go in and do
Dude's
it.
An animal.
Yeah, like,
an animal.
I can appreciate that.
Scientology, wild.
Yeah.
But okay. Second to last question, probably the most telling question. If you are going in and you're about to go on a road trip, you go into a gas station, you get to pick one snack. That's it. What is it?
One snack.
Yeah.
On the road. Let's see. Well, it's not going to be fruit and vegetables. Yeah. So that takes that out of the equation.
You eat no fruit at all?
None.
No.
It has to do with the texture. It has nothing to do with the taste.
I
like grapes, texture, the flavor.
The texture is weird.
I can't get over why would someone want to go out and eat a bush? I don't get when someone's eating a salad, I'm like, what are they doing? Like, I don't want, the last thing in my mind when I look at my hedges is I want to eat them.
That's right? Fair.
And I feel a little more animalistic maybe about it.
So what's your snack?
Cheerios.
What?
Some dry ass Cheerios. I'd say that's a good road trip.
Interesting person I've probably ever met on here. Okay, last question. If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I can't even imagine your answer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll give you Pittsburgh celebrity and then just anybody in general. Yeah. Anybody in general would definitely be like, that's too tough. I'd say it would be probably Carl Sagan.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I assumed once you said you were a big Carl Sagan fan.
I'm such a big fan that I've got in touch with his family and I'm friends with his daughter and his son and stuff.
Yeah.
And somewhat. Luckily, having such a big reach social media wise.
Yeah.
Allows me to kind of get a foot in the door. So Pittsburgh history, it would there's so many people to choose from.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I know a lot, like a vast amount of people. While I would have loved to meet Helen Richie. in particular. Now, I just happen to be looking at it. But out of all the people, it's hard, but maybe George Westinghouse, but probably it would be John Brashear.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because he's like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
He's like the Santa Claus of astronomy in Pittsburgh. He was doing it for the pure love and joy of doing it.
That's
he
pretty
care
wild.
if he ever succeeded, if he ever got one dime for doing any of the work that he did. He could care less.
Yeah.
He was doing it because he loved it. And that's the kind of person I want to, evolve to, someone who's like,
yeah, you're not out to just try to I make some money on it. You just want to put it out there.
It'd be nice to make money. I'd love to make money.
Yeah.
But how do you make money on other people's stuff? Number one,
yeah.
This is not, this is your history just as much as it's my history.
Yeah.
If you live in Allegheny County or around here, I feel like all that I do is for you.
You need to just start a Patreon
because it is basically.
I don't ever condone Patreon. I feel like anyone in Pittsburgh that starts a Patreon for a podcast got some nerve. So if you got a podcast and you have a Patreon in Pittsburgh, you got some nerve, because not one in Pittsburgh is worthy of a Patreon. Not this one, not any of them, but what you do. The thing that I feel like is warranted is this is so much time that you're putting into it, but the fact that you're curating it in a snackable way is well worth your time. Because, and realistically, you got enough of a following that could really,
Everybody give me $1.
You should, that's what I mean.
$1.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
you should really think about doing that.
Yeah. But I agree. That's part of my issue is that I'm
get what you're
thinking
saying.
about the next thing.
I know.
Already,
you're not muddying the waters with that, but finding your way to monetize that, you're going to be able to push even further and do crazier shit.
Oh yeah, I know what it's come. There's that word again, accumulating. I don't know.
Yeah,
what it's all coming to, and that is, I began talking about how I went to film school. I went to music school. I know how to make the movies.
Yeah,
I know how to write the movies. I know how to direct them. You got to put 2 and 2 together. So that's the next step, is obviously to do some kind of epic.
Yeah, if you're ever looking for if you're ever looking for a breath of fresh air, that's not really, shout out to Rick Seaback, but you already know he's being used. Holler at me, you already know who I am. But I can't even imagine, what else we could dive into. I really. If you're down with it, we could do this bi-monthly.
Oh, for sure.
And almost do a education class about, just starting to learn about shit. Because I feel like that I've learned more about, you're about to be episode 213. This is hands down. Before people would recommend, they'd be like, what episode do you think I should listen to? I would always refer to them as Kevin Drobish. He is he's like the head of PIMS, like one of the big dogs at PIMS, worked under Cyril Wecht for years, did over 1,000 autopsies. Right. Fascinating. But this is the number one. I'm not even just telling you that. This is really mind-blowing stuff, and I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface. Didn't even open this binder. Yeah, you didn't even open this binder. Yeah. That's just absolutely ridiculous. I want you to take a second, and I want you to promote. I'm probably going to put this out in 2 different episodes. I'm probably going to break it up into 2 parts because we're about to roll up 4 hours. Wow. Yeah. So I want you to take a second, promote everything you got to promote, anything you can, and where people could find all of this craziness.
For sure. Well, for starters, if you want to get a hold of me,
yes,
you type in the word Odd Pittsburgh into any kind of medium out there, you'll eventually find a way to get in touch with me. Number one, I encourage you to get in touch with me.
Yeah,
because I am just a lone, like a lone person at a big open sea, and I'm waiting. To people to join this adventure with me. I'm
not even just saying it now. I'm 1,000,000%.
I will call you when I go looking for the giants.
Yeah, we're about to be I'm about to be diving into this a little bit heavier.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I've never been more mind blown.
I would have never thought, as my entire life, I would have never thought that this is what I would be interested in doing or what I wanted to do.
This is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah.
The history of the Smithsonian being written in that contract literally is mind blowing to me. So I cannot wait to dive into this. So
you have no
Odd
idea.
Pittsburgh on any medium.
Odd Pittsburgh on anything you can get in touch with. My email even is oddpittsburgh@gmail.com.
Yeah.
But you just type in Odd Pittsburgh on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you're going to find it. Google. In fact, I've posted so much stuff so far these last couple of years that if you have a topic, B25, for example, just type in the word B25 Odd Pittsburgh,
and something's going to come up,
and my stuff will pop up regarding that event.
And you are
my real name, John Schalcosky.
Okay,
yeah, and like, yeah, but I never really even mentioned that all the time. It's kind of like I don't. It's not like
Yeah, I know. I don't ever ask people.
It's weird because it's like I'm like behind the scenes. For a long time, no one knew who I was.
Yeah,
no one, and I kept it that way originally too, except for people that knew me from like like when I first created the page. But like, there's a lot of people who have no clue. They didn't even know that I have like.
Well, people need to know who you are.
Who I am. Yeah. So it's kind of like imagine the next thing too that I'm working on, which is I'll promote. And I do give speeches around town, and if you do follow the social media, I will post on there when I do give a speech or something along those lines. It could be about any topic you pick it. Like I'm going to do one on for all these different organizations call me in. Like I'm doing one for the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution. I'm going to talk about specifically like Revolution history in Pittsburgh. But even with those types of things, and even when I'm filled with like rooms and people filled tuxes and stuff, I talk just like I'm talking to you.
Yeah, and that's why
what makes it a little different.
It needs to be different.
Yeah.
That's why my podcast, I feel like it's a little bit different than what other people do, just because of the way that I do it.
Oh, for sure.
And and that's why people need to hear it in the way that you say it,
right.
The way that you're like coming up with it, and the content that you're coming up with, because everyone hears about like, happy H Day. I get it. We all know about H Day. Mm-hmm. I never heard about the Giants until today. Right. I never heard about Helltown, and that like really messed me up. Yeah. I'm about to call my cousin after
when I get home, I will send you those articles.
I want all of this. I'm going to give you my email. I would love anything you give me. Like if you, I cannot wait. Yeah. Odd Pittsburgh on any medium.
Odd Pittsburgh on any medium. And then, if you have something that I do get questions every day, people are, messaging me here and there, but a lot of it's like my brother, my uncle owned a bar in North Side, and I'm looking for photos of it from 1939 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I can do that specific stuff, but I'm not,
quality over quantity whenever you're
if
coming.
you do want to go searching for lost mysteries and things, then do get in touch with me, because I legitimately do those types of things under the radar. I try not to post too much about it, only the people I know.
Yeah.
Because like we will go into places where you might not be allowed, and we're doing it in the name of history. Now, like I mentioned, like I don't say no. I make sure that I print everything out with us, and I get all the maps and all the deeds and everything is with me. So that if anyone were, and I have been stopped plenty of times, I just go, oh, this is the history. I talk so much, they just dump this. I go ahead.
Dude, I'm all in on it.
Good, man. But that's my next projects to look forward to, I guess, is not only the most comprehensive history of Native Americans ever compiled, and which is going to take a lot out of me. I know it. But I did that one, which is like the complete history of Pittsburgh film and television history.
Yeah.
Where not only did I track down every single known movie location, which is not published on Wikipedia,
we didn't even touch
IMDb
on this
or anything like that.
You sent me this map, and we didn't even touch
none
on
of that. You won't find that information on anything compiled in one spot. I had to find like fanzines and like random stuff published and whatever. Try to track down like the exact locations where a lot of these movies, and a lot of it's generic Pittsburgh. Like I want to know where Jean-Claude Van Damme not only did his thing at the Civic Arena, but I want to know where he lived in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie.
Yeah, well, I know that house.
Yeah.
I could put it on a map already. And utilizing technology with history is going to be a big important step. But I've also tracked down every single notable like Pittsburgh celebrity in all of their childhood homes. I've mapped it. Now, some of them, their families do live there, so I can't. That's the only reason why I haven't made it public yet. Although I might, because they do Star Tours in Hollywood.
Yeah.
No one does that in any other city. Except for Pittsburgh now, because I'm doing that for them, and like compiling, putting all that legwork and tracking it down. And I guarantee it, like this information has never been contained in one spot. And not even in Hollywood can you go look at Hollywood and be like, oh, at the corner of Hollywood and Fairfax, this particular thing exactly happened in this movie.
That's where Heath Ledger was standing with the mask and the opening of The Dark Knight.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you,
stuff like that.
If there was something filmed in Pittsburgh, it's on that list. Now, it's not 100% complete, but it's getting close. And I plan on doing one like that for music history too.
Wow.
Like, where Club Laga was, or Metropole, or Graffitis. It's like, well, what if I could put that all on Google Maps?
Holy
YouTube,
shit.
find every bootleg thing ever filmed there, and also attach it to that. So you click on Club Laga and watch like 10 concerts from Club Laga. So in other words, there's a lot of stuff in the works that's all like, the stuff I'm always working on. But see, that's the thing. I don't know what to do with that stuff. Like,
we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out because I want nothing more than to see you win. At Odd Pittsburgh on Instagram, at I'll Call You Right Back. I appreciate anyone that's still here listening with us. This is going to be the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Absolutely.
Everyone else that's listening, appreciate you as usual. Each and every week, we're back with dope people doing dope things in the city. Thank you for listening. I'll call you right back.